Good evening. Welcome to the Budget Finance Committee joint meeting with the Select Board, and this is our workshop. Let's call the meeting to order. Budget Finance people, I need a motion to approve the minutes of March 16th.
I move approval of the minutes of March 16.
Thank you, Karen. Can I have a second, please? Hi, Sean. Good. Do I have a second?
I'll second the minus.
I have a second right here from Sean. Any discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Next on the agenda, I have either the finance director or the town manager with updates if needed.
Okay, I'll give you that.
Those are updated numbers.
So at the last workshop, it was asked if I could provide more up-to-date, year-to-date figures for the fiscal year 23. So I have done those for each department, and I've also provided a one-sheet summary of the general fund appropriations as they preliminary appropriations as they are presently. So it's just a quick glance, you know, up or down, percentage increase, dollar increase. And I think that's probably about it that I have at this point.
I got nothing.
You got nothing.
Thanks, Sheree.
Yes.
Thank you. Is Kurt LaBelle available?
I don't see him.
Discussion on the municipal tax cap.
I can text him and see if he's planning on.
I think his thought on that was it's similar to last year, and it's something the board will have to deal with.
What is the LD1 cap this year? Do you know?
He didn't send you a memo? I think he did. No?
John, did I put this in the wrong meeting and it should have been in next week?
Well, we talked about that, and I think now that you mention it, he's coming to the select board meeting, isn't he?
I believe he is. I think I put
that's
this
the
on the
wrong
wrong agenda. I'm sorry.
I don't have it tonight. Is it? I think it's on your select board meeting agenda. It will be.
Next Tuesday.
Yeah.
I think that's for next Tuesday when the warrant is set. I'm sorry.
Okay, so that's done.
We'll go right on to TIF.
So as mentioned, I have updated the 2023 actuals, you know, at the initial budget books were established. It was at it was 46,488. Presently, we have expended 97,225 as of February 28th. The amount has not changed as far as what's being requested, but it will show you what is being spent and what isn't. Basically, what it is, again, just a notation on the technology amount, is that that's just being relocated to the capital improvement program budget. So just a moving of that amount.
Any questions on the TIF? General government?
So again, when that was presented initially, the 12/31 amounts expended Give me a moment to flip my page. It was actually $436,388 as of February 28th. It's $565,974. I have not made any adjustments, to any of the appropriations requested at this point. And then we have the compensation and training budget. It is substantially higher this year, trying to get that at a funding level, so we're not overexpending that line. Last year was probably definitely not adequately budgeted for, because I did not anticipate the record levels of inflation and whatnot. Wasn't accustomed to budgeting for that. So I don't know if anybody has any questions about what's being expended. Our legal is certainly up as of February 28th. Everything else is, a little bit over, like advertising is already over. Supplies, hopefully we're going to be on target. I don't see anything else that sticks out.
So how do we get to a 42% increase?
For the compensation and training, or are you talking, there's two departments here.
Overall, it says 42% increase.
41.82?
Yeah.
Okay, that is the compensation and training increase. You're going from funding it at 55,000 up to 78.
And what exactly are we training?
On occasion, staff will go to Maine Municipal Association or affiliate trainings, because we're no longer a member of Maine Municipal Association, so we are paying the higher rate.
I think the major thing is, of course, during the pandemic, we had pretty much done away with training and travel. So that was something for the past couple of years.
To some extent, and
But I don't think the MMA thing is significant. It's kind of funny, they have their member rate and then the non-member rate, but it could be member and then rainbow. But anyway, so, but I don't think although it's double, I don't think that's, the driving factor here really, but
no.
that we go to other trainings and, we're trying to institute inside training, internal training, particularly in, technology and so forth. So,
And some of these, classes that are offered, you can also attend via a Zoom link.
right, and they're
So it's-
fee-based. They're not free.
Right.
Some are. We take advantage of the ones that are. Various law firms do them as kind of a courtesy, ours and other law firms. Those are typically free, but
Must have HR updates and that
Yeah,
kind of stuff.
exactly. When you have new staff, and we have had some new staff come on board for the town of Raymond, and some change in, who holds that HR position, we I think, the motivation is to definitely educate, those people to make sure that they know what they're supposed to be doing in their departments.
Just seems kind of hard to me.
Well, so why year-to-date are we a negative on that? Did that get shifted to someplace else?
Actually, because of what we gave out for merit increases, I actually dipped into, there was a small amount in a reserve account. I think it was around 13,000. So between that, what was budgeted, we ended up overdrawing it by that particular line, 13,000.
Wait a minute.
How much are you building in for merit increases and,
4%.
that's the maximum.
With, yeah,
but that's just the merit portion, right? And
There's no other
No,
portion. She spoke of inflation. That's not a factor. It's all strictly merit, and so we're trying to keep the wages competitive, but with merit. And so we have a benchmark that we set, and so we're talking about 4% roughly. But, and that's significantly below what a lot of towns are doing, by the way.
Do we do these surveys anymore?
Yes.
We're still doing those. How much are those costing us?
I think the last update, and we just had one done, because we also added some of the positions. We wanted to know what an animal control officer was being paid, and we also added the summer camp director and lifeguard, so we would have a good feel for what those positions are earning. I think it was $800, as I remember, was the bill for the latest update.
How many of those surveys we do a year?
Just
We-
one.
They recommend that we do it at least every other year, but preferably every year. And I can tell you that in the last couple, 3 years, the wage situation has changed significantly. And if the idea is to stay competitive, I think you have to know what your competitors are doing. They all do it annually.
You know, not to poo-poo these surveys. I haven't had in my company, I have not done a survey in 20 years because I know what the market is. You call people, you go, all right, if you're hiring someone, you go, okay, this is what I'm going to offer you. If they jump at it, they jump at it, It's like,
It's also for the employees that you already have, too. And
Right.
And the difference, I think, is a significant one. You own the company. You own this company, too, the 5 of you. So we have to be able to show you what it is, I think. I mean, you'd want to see documentation if you were going to see somebody get an increase, and so we try to be conservative, but we're trying also to use the merit system as an incentive to not only attract and retain, but to retain and to incentivize people. And so, I mean, I think we have to stay competitive with the people.
what's
who
your
are in the
turnover
market.
rate? What's your turnover rate?
Well,
if you
I
look at
think
your-
it's fairly significant these days. It is and it isn't. I mean, we have longtime employees who are here, and then we have younger people who, leave us very quickly for wages. And so I'm trying to fix that problem, but I don't know as turnover is the way to measure it. I mean, I think it's an equity issue in some ways.
Joe,
No.
I think we've only done 2 of those surveys in the last 5 years.
But they're saying we ought to do it every year or every other year at the very
Like
worst.
$800 a year?
Yeah.
$800 is pretty good to have that. It's not too bad. It's not, I mean, if we have more turnover, I don't think that we have that big.
I mean, is your turnover rate 3%, 5%? Do
We
you know?
can figure that out, but I don't know it off the top of my head.
I mean, if you have a turnover rate of less than 5%,
I'm going to take a guess we're at
Doing good.
10% or over.
10% or over. How many
One out of
employees
every
you
10
have?
People you've turned over.
Around 20
We can do
full-time.
the numbers for you.
20 full-time?
Probably a little more than that, actually, now.
Closer
20
to 30, 32, I think.
32
How many are on their first year?
Really, that many?
We have a few that have not even met their first year.
We've
So
got at
say-
least 4 or 5 in their first year.
I forgot
Oh,
to
yeah?
factor in the new hire. Yeah, so
It's probably 10 plus turnover rate. You have 4 or 5 people out of 23 that
Out
are
of 32.
within a year.
We're 32
30,
full-time now.
32.
Yeah, I still don't understand the negative number on the year-to-date actual. That would say that you got a refund from someone. It doesn't say that it came from another. It either says you transferred from this account to another account, or someone rebated you money. You can't have a negative for an expense item.
I transferred it to another account,
Okay, so where did it transfer to?
to the other departments to cover the merit increases.
So where are those picked up in this budget? Are they picked up in the 50, in the 75, or are they picked up someplace else?
I don't know if I'm following you.
Well, you're saying you transferred those from this account to another account. I'm trying to determine where those are in this budget.
So they get added to as a budget adjustment to
existing salaries.
to their salary lines.
Of this budget, not this one we're looking at,
Well,
the current budget. So we've already, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense, because we're already in a minus then for the next year.
no.
No, through
And
the
that-
end of the year.
Yeah,
But I mean, essentially, you've done a journal entry someplace to transfer it from the comp, travel and training
Correct?
to somebody else, to someplace else. Where else, where is it showing up otherwise? So it's gotta be, it's picked up in some other account.
Yeah.
Would it-
Where is it?
Would it be in administration salaries? Would it be?
Across the board.
Across the board.
Yep, townwide, all departments.
Thank you. Come. Good boy.
Any other comments on administration? We'll move on to assessors.
We have a change in his contract to account for the
Additional time.
additional time for the new state tax relief program, elderly tax relief, whatever official name is.
Yeah, he counted for holiness notation, 4 extra days.
It's a significant amount of work. We've talked about that. I think we're somewhere in the mid-high 300s on
350,
applications. They all have to be
350.
processed individually, notifications, individual, analysis. And, some people who apply don't qualify, and they have to be notified, and that all explained to them and so forth. There are some pretty loose criteria around it, but, I think there's a, timeline for residency, and some people don't meet that. Some people apply who aren't residents, so. Trying to administer it in the way that the state, mandates, so that requires some due diligence. Not just for Kurt, there's also Melissa's part in it. Melissa's doing a lot of that as well.
Right.
But that's going to get fixed, they say, somehow.
Sure. So are we actually going to overspend this year
On assessing?
on assessing because of that?
That's a great question. My expectation would be,
Close.
yes, unless he's not going to bill us. I don't know has he talked to you about it?
No, he hasn't talked to me
He
about
hasn't
it, but his
He hasn't
contract,
come over to that. He has indicated that that's something that needs to be planned for, but he hasn't, it's unclear to me, I guess.
Yeah, because we've got it, we factored in for next year.
I know, but he did the
he's
work this
doing-
year.
He's doing work this year.
I would expect in a fairness sense, that would be a yes, but I haven't had that discussion with him. I think in terms of Kurt and the services he provides for us, it's a pretty good value compared to the alternative. He's a highly competent guy, and, he really does a good job for the town, in my opinion. And a lot of towns have contacted me, even Wyndham a few years ago, about how they might reduce their costs. They have several full-time people, and I think that for us, this works, and I think it worked for a lot of towns. They might be able to do something on a contract with a few more employees and save themselves a significant amount of money if they wanted to. And then there are towns who contract directly with the county and have the county do their assessing. That I don't recommend. But that's another option. We could save a little bit of money doing that, but I don't recommend it.
I would say it looks like we're right on schedule.
Well, yeah, the question is, has he billed us for that extra time?
Well, he's on contract.
and his contract is not on a fiscal year. I think it runs through September 30th.
It's a calendar, yeah. Okay.
One quick question, the assessing, the second one down, is that for things that pop up? Certain issues that pop up that needs to be assessed, or?
No, that's his contract.
contract.
Oh,
The
that's part of
salaries
his?
is Melissa, his administrative assistant. And she's the majority of her time is allocated to that department. I want to say about 68%. I think 5% to Public Works and the other 20-something to administration.
It's shifting more all the time towards assessing, so Nathan, and she also helps Joe. I think Nathan and Joe could use some more help, and, I'm trying to use less and less, and have been, I think, somewhat successful, I think, in that. So the days of having total support, even our town attorneys do all their own correspondence, and those days are over.
Any other questions on accessing? We'll move on to codes.
How come there's no salary increases in the code line?
It's the same reason, it comes from the merit pool, and it will be reflected next year. So what you're seeing are if you were to look at the finalized budget book.
That 75,000 somehow gets spread across all these lines.
All these lines, yeah, that's everybody.
Depending on the evaluation, merit.
Yeah, and I mean, some years, we didn't add money to it because we didn't need to, and, and then we run into a year this year we need to. So.
And Alex is tuned in if anyone has any questions in regards to his department budget.
You did a good job.
Yeah, nice budget,
He does
Alex.
do a good job.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Any other questions for codes? Moving on. General assistance?
That one, we had budgeted 10,000 for FY '23. We've already expended close to 20,000. So in the proposed budget, I had put in for 15,000.
Now, the state's talking about changing the reimbursement rate.
There is an LD. I don't know where it stands in process, but,
Yeah.
They got a 90%?
Yeah.
right. Did it die?
No, not yet.
So where do you pick up the
70% reimbursement?
yeah, that get picked up on the revenue side?
Yes, yep.
Yep. That's still, I mean, that's a very, very low number for a town our size, I should tell you.
Yeah.
It's a when I came here, it was like $2,000, but 20, years ago, but
It's
it's still an awfully
definitely-
low number.
Changing demographics.
And the cost of things too, I mean, you look at your rents and cost of food and basic necessities, electricity, some of these things are not what they were 20 years ago. And there probably are a few more people, but I don't know if there's that many more. And community assistance, of course, has helped some too.
Yes.
Do you think with what's happening there that 15,000 is too little to be looking forward to for the budget?
I don't think
We're
so.
already at 20.
I think the pandemic had an influence too. I don't know, what do you think, Sharice? That's what you put there, so I guess that's what you think.
Yeah, it's really hard to predict. People lose their jobs, and so they come in for help if they can qualify. The pandemic certainly was a major driver in this year's numbers. you know.
Yeah, that's a good point. There were people, obviously, who did lose their jobs, and then now it's a pretty robust job market the other way, so I'm thinking more optimistically than pessimistically moving forward.
The thing is, 15,000 is really 25.5.
Right.
And I think that's one line that you can overexpend, as I remember, in that and Public
that.
Works, snow removal. I think those are lines that you can overexpend without any, you know, repercussions or any notations
Well,
in
there's
your,
always repercussions, but
in your audit.
legally.
Maybe that wasn't the
legally,
right
maybe
word
that's
to
true.
use.
Yeah, at the end of the day, you want to have a account balance that's all in balance. I mean, the selectmen then, what you're saying is the selectmen don't have to vote to transfer appropriations on that.
Correct,
The
right.
law permits it to be overexpended, but.
Right.
Yeah.
Have you seen Nathan with a bullhorn walking up and down the streets during a snowstorm? Sorry, we went over our budget. Can't get the snow plowed right now.
Oh, plowing today.
Exactly. Get your shovels out.
I am very pleased, though, with the Community Assistance Fund, and, you know, when that first started, I didn't know where that was going to go, and, you know, we had discussions about whether people would contribute or not, and there are a number of people who put us on their annual giving plan. There are people who, you know, bring checks in regularly, and,
Hanford cards.
yep, and gift cards regularly. We've used some of those, you know, to help out during the pandemic, and I think that was helpful when you were doing the school lunch program.
All right.
Any other comments on general assistance? Then we'll move on to insurance.
Okay, so I basically, you know, I've projected like a 15% increase, especially on the property side due to the cost of building supplies. You will notice the workers' compensation line item. It's already,
We have some cases in workers' comp.
our loss ratio is not very good. We do pay additional premium. I don't know what our mod is right now, like 1.48%.
Wow.
Yeah, it's huge.
Wow.
And then the audit,
Paying 1.5 times.
yeah, but,
Wow.
and,
I mean,
you know, a
it is
good business, you know, with good safety practices and whatnot. I mean, some accidents you can't, you know, they can't be helped, but we do get back a dividend, which is reflected in the revenues, but we, you know, the workers' comp audit resulted in additional premium. That's why you see the actual year-to-date is 92,000.
So we must have mimic then? get
We do.
Dividends.
Yeah, we do.
Is there an increase to vehicle insurance because of more vehicles, or is that just a cost that's generally going up?
Well, I used to work in commercial lines insurance, Sean, and, you know, I know what these agencies are getting for a kickback in their commission, and I can tell you it's pretty hefty on a commercial insurance policy. The business auto, it could have been, you know, I anticipate some increases there. I have requested our 5-year loss history just to maybe, I think we need to take a look at when we actually submit a claim, because I think our claim history is also driving up our premium. You know, we have accidents, and, you know, our deductibles perhaps are low, but we've had them look at, like the comprehensive deductibles, 250. Collision deductible, that's 1,000. You know, some of you even, you know, individuals would carry something more than that. And I did ask them to, you know, take a look at that and see if it would save us some money in premium, but it really doesn't amount to much.
There's been a general move in the P&C world of an increase just because of increased cost of materials for replacement increase and scarcity of auto parts and things like that, so they've taken that as an opportunity to increase their rates.
Yeah.
I don't know if this has anything to do with it, but, you know, a lot of our vehicles are not, you know, passenger cars, they're fire trucks, which if you damage a fire truck or a commercial vehicle like some of Nathan's vehicles, that's a different ball game when you go to repair it.
Also, in that liability account is almost $1,000 for the summer camp liability, so that's an increased new program this year.
Right, that's a good point as well.
Thank you.
Any other questions on insurance? Let's talk about employee benefits.
Okay, so, the big driver there is the offering of the Maine Public Employees Retirement System Special Plan 3C for the public safety employees. I think I estimated that cost was gonna be close to $100,000 if everybody participates. So I do build in a worst-case scenario. And
That's under the retirement line?
that's in the retirement line.
But can't we get a true figure on that by asking the people asking the people that it would be offered to? If it passes, will you take it? And if they
Do a
say-
survey,
Yeah,
like a straw
and then
poll.
if they say yes, then we know what the number is. If they say no, then we know it's not. So we can actually tighten that number up.
So,
What if somebody decides to, I mean, I think the answer is they have to do it at a certain time, is that correct?
They,
So they have
depending
to
on how we
Structure it?
structure it, there's, you know, they have to at least enroll within the first 30 days. My thought is to have them enroll within 14 days initially.
Yeah, you're missing my point.
No, I know your point.
Because if you go out and say to them, if it is available, if it's
Yeah.
available, and if it passes a town meeting or the town vote, will you take it?
Mm-hmm.
Because you're going to get a certain number that are going to say no because it doesn't make
Not
sense. You're going to
interested.
get a certain percent a certain number that says yes. So now you have it. Now you have a defined number, be it 6.5, be it whatever it is. So now you can tighten that number up because you know how many are actually going to take it if that happens.
But this is only for public safety.
Public safety,
This is not
Right,
all-
yeah.
but it's only
No,
for
I
the
understand
union.
that. Yeah, so I
Only
mean,
for the union.
For
And
8 of them, I
there's
think.
There's one member that will not take it. He's already got his retirement from Portland. But the issue is what happens if he does retire from us this next year?
And I think
Then
that's
the
pretty
new
likely
person.
at some point. I
He's
mean,
been telling us he's gonna retire
I know.
4 years now.
So, but there's 8 of them that this is covering.
There's 10,
There's 10 union?
10 union at this time. So there's 9 maximum at this time
right.
that would.
But I mean, if the question is posed to them and 7 come back and say yes, that means, so now you can, you tighten that number up because now you have a known number, not an right now you're saying, I have to factor on everybody taking it. And there's a big difference between if they do, if they don't.
yeah.
So I guess we could do that with the existing employees, and I think I know that one of the people that we plan for has already either got another job or is looking for another job, and so then we're gonna have a different person, right?
Correct. So I would plan on.
I would
that
leave the
person
number.
to-
Yeah, I'm not sure you could actually do that.
I would leave the number.
Ask ahead of time.
It would
And
be tough because you
Yeah.
say, oh, no, I'm not gonna take it. Well,
Yeah.
now I'm gonna take it. Well, now now I'm
right.
under the.
Well, you could put
But
strictures
doing
up
it-
possibly on that
doing it
scenario, but the
best-
scenario you can't control is if
doing it
someone
your
leaves
way
and
is
gets
best
somebody
way.
else.
it would be effective as of what date?
Well,
July 1st.
September.
yeah, the contract, I think, is worded to be, we need a couple of months to get everything in place.
So it's going to be September?
We said September 1st. in
No
their
later than
contract.
October 1st.
So did you factor that into that number?
I did.
That you're going to have 2 months of,
Of not having to pay premium.
We can certainly ask. I know Lee can ask his guys.
The consensus is all but one person is going to take it. And the reason is because of the benefits that comes with it for retirement at the end. It's not the upfront, it's the later lateral, because they can actually buy back from the day they started. They can take their 457, take that money, roll it into the main state retirement and buy back, and then buy additional time. But they have to pay for it. It's nothing the town has to pay for, which is a perk to it. Main state retirement, I've been on it for 15 years, so I know the benefits, I'm well versed in it, and it is a good plan. I mean, I had the luxury, when I had it, we didn't pay Social Security, so it was a benefit to the town. They didn't have that dividend coming out. It was a wash. I know it's different in Raymond, which I get it, and that's the best way to have it. But all but one guy is gonna get it, and the chief was actually considering it, depending on how much he could buy back with his 457.
Yeah. I'm just not sure you can budget by saying that, you know, whether you're gonna take it or not, yeah. I just don't think that's a good idea.
But it is a one-time shot. You
All right.
offer it once, and if you turn it down, you can never get back into it.
What?
Now, in this
New
retirement
employees
budget,
can, but once they've opted out, they can't opt in.
right, they sign a paperwork saying they're opt-out when it's offered.
Okay, but clarification then, I guess, because right now there's 10 members that are in the union, correct?
Yes,
Okay, so it wouldn't be just for them, it would also be for you and Bruce.
chief and the deputy chief can opt to join.
So that kicks us up to 12 now. So does that mean that that price goes up now? From the 100,000?
Yeah, it would. I have, because I knew the deputy fire chief, being Lee, is interested in joining, I have factored his salary in
With this?
with this, but I did not do the fire chief.
Okay, so is there anybody else that works full-time down there, even if they're in union or not, that would be
No.
able to take this?
No,
So because
Yeah, the
then,
administration. Right?
Mary wouldn't qualify for this.
She wouldn't qualify for the special program. She would qualify if we went to the regular program for the employees, correct?
Correct. And keep in mind that the guesstimate of $59,000 for main PERS for the other employees is not in the budget at all.
Right.
no, you're right. Okay, so but back to this one then. So we're back up, actually not even having enough.
If the fire chief participates.
If he does,
Yeah.
but I also would not take the money out for that one person because again, anything can happen from today till tomorrow that he changes his mind or whatever. Do you know what I mean? And wants to stay in it. So I'm a little worried that that number is under.
The other, the other thing is that you need to contribute to main PERS for any overtime hours. It's not just based on their 84 hours every pay period. It's also paid on overtime hours. And I believe Bruce had, correct me if I'm wrong, Lee, I think he had 85,000.
85,000.
80,000 overtime hours?
85,000.
Who
did?
Bruce.
For overtime.
So we have to pay on that 85,000 then?
Correct. That's included in your wages for retirement.
Overtime can be, that is up to the town's decision. That does not.
Can you go to the, thanks, the podium? Just because it's on TV and then everybody has to hear you, sorry.
If you look at the retirement, overtime you can have it set so it doesn't count toward the retirement. It's based off base salary. That is something the town would have to do. Most towns don't because they'll collect it up. It's all before tax, so it's really a wash.
So when do we have to decide that then? Whether we are going to do?
When you sign up for main PERS. But I can tell you right now, in our regular retirements, we match up to 6%, and that's based on overtime. If you get overtime, of course, more money goes into your retirement that week. It's based on all of your earnings.
Right, it's based on what you earn.
Correct.
But we actually pay the fire chief and the assistant chief overtime?
No.
No.
No, that's.
No.
No.
Okay.
No,
So
but-
how does Bruce have 85,000 hours of overtime?
No.
It's built into
Overtime,
hours.
built into the budget for the whole fire department is $85,000 to cover overtime for the year.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I thought he meant Bruce too.
I thought Bruce
See,
alone
I-
had.
Not you, he.
No overtime,
He wishes he did, but no.
Yeah, yeah,
everybody's salary.
right.
That was a few years ago that we finally get that all accomplished. Bruce was the last one, I think.
All right. So to me, then that line is under a bit. All right.
I guess the question would be, would you want to include overtime in it? Because that would determine when we figure numbers.
I wasn't aware of that option.
And that's a question for me first.
Oh, God, I don't even have an answer for that one.
She did a presentation last week.
Yeah, I know, it was a little on the vague side.
Okay.
But the thing with the overtime, you can also consider, when you're talking retention, everybody's in Maine State Retirement. With your current wages, you will get people to apply. They're not knocking down the door, they're out there in the field, but Maine State Retirement is one of the biggest drivers to get people through the door.
So the question I would have would be, in our labor market, which is probably pretty universally now hers, what's the norm? What's the norm with respect to, how they calculate, overtime or not?
Most of them do it because they use that as a perk. When somebody applies to you, well, this is what we offer overtime in this to go toward your retirement. Because once we're out of the system, we retire, it goes to Maine State Retirement. They're paying all you've already paid your process in, we paid our process, now we're getting it. We're done with the town. The town is not paying any more for us.
Right.
So that's where the benefit is. We're paying it ahead, that's all.
I can tell you the city of Portland, that's the only one I'm 100% sure of, does cover their overtime in the fire department for their main PERS, because they do the 3 highest annual
Right.
salaries. So they all know in there that when I'm ready to retire for the last 3 years, I work all the overtime I can get to build up my retirement.
Right, but, and that's, we've lately had an issue on account of the recruitment, but I think that's becoming less and less of an issue. And so the opportunity to do that in a place like Raymond or any of the other rural towns is not the opportunity you have in Portland, such a big system. And I just don't see somebody, I guess there are people who have been able to, and I won't call it game the system, but utilize the system in order to get an extraordinarily large retirement by doing that. They have to work their tails off for 3 years, but they do that.
They do.
That's probably don't have that opportunity out here.
Not as much in Raymond because your opportunities are only available to the shifts that are open.
Open, and there's just so many people and so many, opportunities, I guess.
Not sure I would look to Portland for fiscal prudence.
No, I'm not saying, I'm saying the opposite. I'm saying that we don't offer that opportunity, that system here, I don't think. I don't think there'd be a possibility to do that. Dennis, yeah.
Yeah, the only thing I can say add to
he's
this
Portland.
is, no, I'm not bringing up Portland. I enjoy my pension. The reality is, though, we're still using per diems to fill in for some of the shifts, aren't we?
Occasionally, yes.
Like, if you wanted to control overtime, if the town did, that would be a position where you would enhance someone who's coming in and doing per diem. And I'm not talking against the union or against their overtime, but I think it's, when we simplify the retirement system, and I was on the reevaluation committee that went from 280 plans down to the 28 and now down even lower. I think the overtime, the vast majority of them are going to have. And I don't think it should be one of those issues that you would worry too much about. And if it got out of hand, you could hire more per diems for the overtime and schedule them in for vacations and whatnot. But personally, I think you ought to pay the whatever they work. Just my opinion. Thank you.
The contract does say that any overtime shifts are offered to per diems first. If they can't fill it, then it goes to union members.
All right, so that's already in there, they've already accepted it, so it's a way to handle it if the town wants to, if it gets too far out of control.
And that's why I don't think it'd ever get to a situation like it does in some of the urban departments.
So should we put more in there? In that account? I think we're low, if that's the case.
I think this first year, you're gonna be, you're either gonna be right or wrong. I mean, you know, I think you've gotta let it run and see where you end up.
Okay, I'm fine with that.
I mean, it's, you know, it's like forecasting. You're either lucky or lousy.
Right.
All right, good. Nope.
Well, I may have misspoke if that was based on a 10-month funding option, so can I take that back and rework those numbers for you?
Yep.
So we may be okay if the fire chief decides to participate, but I took a full 2,184 hours, you know, thinking that we were, you know.
I would expect that we would be, and then you have the issue of you're going to have people, I mean, when you got 10 people, you're going to have people come and go, you're going to have gaps, and,
Right.
you know, you're going to have intervals where you're not, a position's open or a couple positions or whatever, you know,
But
throughout the year, right? Won't that affect it a little bit?
I budgeted this as if we were starting July 1, and there's no way we can get this up and running by July 1.
Right, but I'm saying even if you go to the later start date, you're always going to have that idea of people coming and going, right?
Yes,
And that, I mean, that affects salary lines as well.
right.
But aren't they gonna want that retroactive?
No.
No? Okay.
No, that was part of
That could be time that they could buy back.
the start date was something we negotiated with them over.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, all right,
So I can rework those numbers to fine tune that for you.
okay, thank you.
What's the difference between the retirement that we're paying for right now and the retirement that we're offering? Do we run both programs at the same time?
One's a 457 and one's gonna be the main purse, you mean?
Currently, right now, we offer up to a 6% match for the employee after 6 months, once they finish their probation period. Some people do 6%, the majority. Some people do 3%. But that's what we offer currently.
Are you saying you offer 100% of the 6%?
Say that again?
Up to 6% of salary,
Correct.
right? You can defer, and we match dollar for dollar.
Right,
Correct.
So 6% of 6%.
right.
Okay.
That's the only thing we offer at this point.
And when you go with main
Next
PERS,
year-
that's a different number
Next
altogether.
fiscal
as
year,
you know.
we'll add main
that's your
PERS for
question.
those that are eligible.
And the main I think he's asking the main PERS contribution rate for the special program.
No, the 457 is pretty generous, going 100% up to 6%. Private sector is, you can go up to 6% and you get 50% match on that.
No, I'm saying, maybe I don't understand your question. The difference between,
The difference between the retirement that we're paying for right now,
Is the
The
6%.
457, that's a 6%.
Main PERS for the fire department will be 13.2%. That we
12.8.
12.8 that
gross
we
dollars?
contribute.
no, are people gonna be able to opt to do both?
In the union?
No,
One or the other.
one or the other.
So did we actually see a decrease in our current retirement funding?
No. If things stayed the same, you wouldn't have a $100,000 increase. You'd have essentially what the line was last year, elevated, you know, for a few percentage points. But what's happening is, so now you've got the union that has PERS. So that's that increase that you're seeing, because you're still doing the same with all the other employees.
Any other questions on employees' benefits? Animal control?
Right over there, sir.
Okay, I'm gonna bring it up. Look at Joe. We have zero negotiating power with this budget, technically.
We have
Dawn?
30.
33%.
30%, right.
So what happens is, if we don't like something, and Naples, because we're in with Naples, Casco, and Raymond. Naples and Casco says, yes, we want this. Raymond says, no,
Right.
we don't want this.
Yep.
So,
Welcome to democracy.
no, welcome to my world. No. This is me having a 2 cents. My issue is, she is a Casco employee technically, and the only negotiating we have on this is through Dawn. And if Dawn is the odd man out, then they come in and we have to go with this budget. I don't see any other employee getting a $4 an hour increase. And I don't think it's fair, whether she's a Casco employee, whether she's a Raymond employee, I don't think it's fair. I really don't. The other thing, I don't know, and somebody please correct me if I'm wrong, I thought she has set hours from 8 to 5, 8 to 4 or whatever. Is anybody going to tell the dogs and the animals to do all this stuff between 8 and 4 and 8 and 5? Because when you're in animal control, it doesn't all happen within those hours.
She does come out for emergencies at an overtime rate, off hours. She has an assistant now, so we do provide that service. And she said, and she keeps regular hours, is what I'm told.
Yes. So
She has a space at Casco Town Office, apparently.
I also know opening my mouth may risk making her mad. Joe knows that. But I have concerns about this. I really do. I'm sorry, but any other employee just doesn't come walking in saying I'm getting a $4 increase. They really do not. And to any other employee in this town of Raymond, I do not feel it's fair. I really don't. I don't feel it's fair that when you take on this job, you know that you have after hours and you have in the middle of the night, whatever happening. You know that when you take on a job. And for example, Joe Crocker, he does rec. He's out on Saturdays, he's out on Sundays, he's out on Friday nights. He mixes this up. Nathan gets calls out, snow, and accidents. Same thing with the fire
They're
department.
salaried employees, though, and at a significantly higher salary. It depends on how you count this thing. You know what I'm saying?
So anyways.
Depends on how you look at it. And I hear what you're saying, and I advocated for incrementalism, but, you know, I'm 33% of it, but it really, do you think of this as a three-town department? Do you think of it as a hourly, when you compare it to an hourly employee, you know, it's a you know, significantly good wage. When you compare it to somebody who's heading a department and subject to what Joe, Nathan, and some of the others of us have, then it is not so much. And so what we tried to do with this was to look at it through the lens of what are other towns doing, and that's a difficult thing to do because there are towns that pay significantly more. I think we had a dearth of examples actually in the sample, and so that's why we decided we would try to see if we could find more examples than the Casco sample. But the idea, I thought, was do it a little more incrementally, but the decision was to do it to this level because it puts her somewhere near, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, Sharice, was it, I don't have the survey in front of me. You can probably tell me precisely where she would be in that survey.
In the survey, she would be just over the maximum.
Over the maximum?
Yeah, the survey
Yeah, that's
maximum
not-
for animal
That's why I
control
said if we should work
is
towards.
2216.
So there's your argument, I guess, yeah.
So she's getting over the maximum of the survey that you guys paid $800.
Right, we strive here, we
That-
didn't pay, well, we paid 800 for ours. Is that the Casco survey or our
That's the
survey?
KMA
That's our
survey.
survey.
Yeah.
Okay.
So she is technically over the max right now as far as the money goes.
According to the KMA survey.
Okay, so the other issue I seem to have is the insurance.
There's not a thing you're gonna do about that,
Wait a minute.
Hold on.
yeah.
Why would we pay a third of that health insurance when we provide insurance to our employees that isn't a third of what we're gonna pay?
Yeah. Well, I
So,
hear you.
so you need to negotiate, Don. You need to go to the town manager at Casco and Naples and go, we're not paying that much for health insurance. We don't pay for our employees that much. Yeah, even a third of that, we don't pay for our employees. So we're not paying that kind of money.
Well, if that's the direction, I can do that. That hasn't been the direction, but they're not, what I meant.
That is a
What I meant by we
ridiculous amount of
can't,
money.
what I meant by that we can't make them change what they do. We can change what we give them, yeah.
I mean, you add that to her salary, she's making $75,000 a year
So again, I know
to
Steve,
chase animals around.
It's not that easy.
it's not
No, it
easy. We're
isn't.
not
It's
saying
not an
that
easy
yet. Oh,
job.
hold on.
You never
Sorry.
get called for for something that you just walk up and, oh, here we go, come on, let's go.
I get it. But do you think it's fair to pay $28,000 in health insurance benefit for one
person,
employee?
No.
Do you do it for your employees?
And I don't think it's easy, but I also know that you sign up for this.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean? And again, I'm looking at what Raymond does, not what Casco and Naples. And yes, we are in agreement with them. But again, no other employee here in Raymond just jumps in and says, hey, for this budget, I'm getting $4 more an hour. So I don't know what the answer is to that. I don't know what to do, but I know I have a big problem with this budget.
Well, the way to control the costs would be to have it be a town function. I mean,
Only way.
And that's what you had before. That's how you control the cost.
Right.
And, or you, like Joe says, you go back with a number certain, said this is what we're willing to do, and see what happens that way. But what we're trying to do, though, I think that would kind of work a little bit counter to some of the other stuff we're trying to do, which is we're trying to work with our neighbors, and we've been successful, particularly in public works, and public safety with terms of service, but public works in terms of, revenues and so forth, and hopefully in the future with public safety, sharing resources and so forth. I don't know how much sharing we do with the towns to the west of us, but I do think they're going to be, because they're trying to build public works departments, they're trying to improve what they're doing. There is an opportunity for us to work with them and see that in some period of time. I don't know if it's forever, but for some period of time, they're going to need assistance, and we can provide that in the way of rental of equipment and other types of assistance, contract work. He's done some contract work for them. So I just say that if you do that.
Are you saying that we need to look at everything that we do?
Well, I'm just saying that if you, it's just like.
Pool together,
It's just like if you were in a situation where you're collaborating with someone, it's going to send a message, is what I'm saying. And I don't know as it's a message
But
that.
we're happy with everything, we're just not happy with that aspect.
Well, you can do it that way and see what happens. I'm just telling you the other piece of it.
Yes, totally understand. Some of you take the good with the bad,
Yeah, they may say, okay, we'll pick up the difference.
Well,
Or Naples may say, we like that idea, we'll do the same thing. And then Casco's faced with the decision of, do we pick it up?
Well,
Right?
but the
Well,
question
we're
too
picking
is,
it up anyway.
I don't mind working with our neighbors, but I don't.
We're
want to get
actually
stomped on by our neighbors.
subsidizing them.
I would actually guess if you did that, Naples might do the same thing. Might. I mean,
What do we pay for a single health insurance on our plan?
An individual, I think, is like $573.
Right.
An
Right.
individual.
$7,200 a year. Not $28,000.
I was going to say, there's a good chance that Naples or the other town might feel the same way.
It must.
Yeah.
I'm sure that they're probably having those discussions too, because I know when we first saw that, it is outrageous
Yeah.
about how much it is.
And it's obviously a family
No,
family
that's
plan.
a single plan.
No, she's got
She's got
children.
a family.
You got children on
She's
it?
got a family, and, I mean, I
So
don't, I know.
family, we're paying what, 1,200 a month?
11 something.
Right, okay, so that's 14,400.
Half.
Right, it's still half.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying she doesn't do a good job. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that I have to put it in perspective with everything else that we're looking at for salaries and insurance.
So if you
Right, and
say,
and we're saying 4% for what everyone else is getting on merit, and it's not $4. That's 4%.
Right.
so if you said to them, we pay 14,400 for our family coverage, we'll pay a third of that amount. Let's say even $5,000, not $9,000. So you can save yourself $4,000 or more.
That's right. We would do that, and somebody'd have to pick it up if they wanted to continue that program.
Right. Casco, if they want. If that's what they offer, let Casco pick them up.
You actually are a little higher than that because you got factor for the HRA too.
Yep.
All right.
It's a decision you could make. The decision we can't make is to tell them what to have for health insurance.
No.
We have suggested that that's out of line with what everybody's doing.
But we can tell them to keep it fair.
Tell them what we're going to pay for it.
Exactly. With all of the other employees and what we do for everybody else. And technically, if we are paying for her, she is an employee, you know? Even though she is under the umbrella of Casco, we are still paying benefits for an employee.
I think how they look at it, it's only a handful of towns. MMA does not offer this program anymore. I mean, it's literally 5 or 6 towns, I think, that still give this program. And they're trying to price it out of the market so the towns will get out of it. And most towns have gotten out of it and gone with different programs. Some towns have done what we're doing. Some towns have taken lesser MMA programs. They have a cafeteria plan of programs. But Casco has said, this is something that distinguishes us, and we use this as a way to market our town. That's the drift I get when I bring the question up, and John Hawley we brought the question up, we bring the question up every year. That's what they say. It's something that is a incentive to be a Casco employee. And I guess the other way, I know this doesn't mean anything because it's all about cost, but I mean, when it comes to quality, it's a quality program for sure, but it's, as I understand it, it's still short of what the school teachers get. So it's it is what it is.
You mean at Lake Region or Wyndham?
Our school teachers.
Lake Region, I don't know what they get.
All right.
But it's costly. I mean, to provide that kind of plan without the, I guess, the power of the school, MEA is expensive.
That was my gripe. Sorry.
Did we ever
You got me
get
riled up, thank you.
did we ever have a survey of any kind? Damn surveys.
Yeah, exactly.
That showed like, Raymond had 100 calls, Casco had 100 calls,
Yes.
and Naples had 100.
We're all just a little over 200 calls, 220 calls left.
Per year.
I think Naples maybe a little
So there's 600 calls per year that this one person goes to?
2 people.
plus, yeah.
It was pretty close between, you get anomalies that go up and down, but at the end of the year, it actually came out pretty close, town to town to town.
Yeah, she gave a breakdown here.
Yeah.
Somewhere.
It's not enough the call volume's not enough to be concerned about.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. Anybody?
And then when you look at the calls, I guess there are follow-ups, there are additional contacts, and so those, as I understand it, don't count as new calls, You don't finish it with one call.
Any last questions for animal control? Fire department.
The salaries. So we have 8 full-time people now, correct? On in the union now, we're covering their salaries now?
You have 10 counting the chief and the deputy chief. The proposal is to add 2 more.
Add 2 more full-timers?
We have 10 on the floor, sorry. Add 2 more so that we have 3 people per shift, 24/7.
Okay, all right, wait a minute. So take out the chief and the assistant chief. So I thought that we only...
We have 10 10 full-time that cover the floor shifts. So we have 2 that work just days. The proposal is to add 2 more so they can work 24 hours, and you'll have 3 people, 3 full-timers on for 24-hour shifts around the clock.
But I thought at the last meeting, Bruce said that there was no more full-time positions open.
They're not open yet. They would be open if this budget passes.
Not created yet.
So, okay.
And I think that's part of the union contract that we've already ratified, is to
Right.
add those 2 additional positions.
So there's going to technically be, instead of 8 full-time union people, there'll be 10 full-time union people.
Now, there's 10 now, it will go to 12. So that's 3 shifts, 24/7. You want to speak to it, Lee?
So currently, we're running 4 shifts of 2, with two guys that work 4-hour blocks during the week, 4 days on, 4 days off, and then another guy comes in and does the same. By adding 2 more guys, which I believe Bruce asked for 4 last year, agreed to cut it to 2 to bring it forward to this year to add 2 more. By putting 3 people on, it gives us the extra added ability to get the second ambulance out at any given time, but it also gives it initial crew going to a fire, bringing the engine and the tanker so we can actually start working right away before mutual aid gets on scene. That was the manpower to get that there. So it'd be, we have 10 now, they'll go up to 12.
So, just a stupid question, but if this was a full-time fire department, how many guys would you, when I say guys, people would you need?
Realistically?
Yeah.
8 per shift.
Okay. In the town of Raymond?
Any town.
Okay.
Wyndham has 10 per shift plus the 3 chiefs. Falmouth is going up to 16 per shift.
On any given structure fire, 2 guys go in, 2 guys outside spotting them, safety. 1 guy running a pump, 1 running command, 1 doing or 2 doing a search. For those 2 doing a search, you want to have 2 backing them up. That doesn't even count roof operations or anything like that. It's just to get the job started till our mutual aid comes in. That's why mutual aid's huge.
Okay.
Wow.
How confident are we can hire 2 people?
I'm pretty confident now with main PERS and the salary we offer. How about you?
And I have already had inquiries.
You've already had inquiries?
Yeah.
Which is unusual. That's never happened.
People that I've worked with are looking, that got out of the field, paramedics. I mean, that's the goal. You want paramedics. Even if they don't have fire, you can train fire in-house. You can't train paramedicine in-house. That's the problem with EMS. And the rules are getting stringent. We're going from 3-year certifications to 2-year certifications. So we're going to have to increase the training ability to get people, keep them up to date. I mean, one of the biggest changes is it looks like basics are going to get the first line of cardiac meds to start treatment. So if both medics are gone, we call for an ALS, truck coming, they're going to initiate care. And hopefully, with the training that goes with it, do it the right way. It'll save lives.
Thank you.
Did I answer your question, ma'am?
Yes, thank you.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Dennis.
I'm curious about the money that the state is now talking about distributing for EMS. Is that already earmarked to other departments, or is this something we can tap into for at least a bridge until we get everything ironed out? Isn't the state talking about EMS being a problem statewide, and they're coming up or trying to come up with millions of dollars to supplement it for a 1-year period or an 18-month period?
They did. They dropped the amount from 70,000 to 25,000 today. I was in a briefing on the news, which was kind of a crushing blow to everybody in the EMS field. But it's not just, that's not the issue. It's the structure, getting the trucks out there. Right now, getting an ambulance is 36 months. Well, you break an ambulance, that's great, but now you gotta equip something else to run in its place. The money was to fix a system that's broken, not at our level, at the state level too. So some of that money is being kind of thrown out there. I don't think we're gonna see much of it, to be honest with you.
Well, regardless, I think it's important to provide the service and as safely as we can without being crazy. So, again, I'm all for it. Thank you.
The increase in gas, is that because we're using more gas and the price of gas is going up?
Price of gas is going up.
Have you seen the price of oil? It's down to $65 a barrel. That means price of gas is coming down.
And what's it going to do next fall? I don't know, Joe.
Right, nobody knows.
What about the utilities? What exactly is the utilities for you guys?
In the fire department, it's, hang on a second.
It's your phone, it's your electrical, your cable.
Heat.
Heat is separate.
Yeah, he has its own
Propane
line.
is separate in your heat. But it's all of that. And of course, we had a huge increase in CMP. Just the main fire station, because I pay the bills, is like $1,200-1,400 a month in CMP.
I thought phone was under another one, so I didn't realize that. Okay.
That doesn't sound so bad. I know of a daycare where it's 800.
Are you charging things?
Yeah, no joke.
So that's not bad.
It jumped from 356
They
to
don't have all those
800.
blow-up toys.
Yeah, but those blow-ups I have all the time. So yeah, quiet over there, Chuck. All right.
Any other questions on fire department? Town buildings.
Sir, what do you think about us maybe doing Public Works or Joe so they can get out of here, or do they want to stick around anyway, or?
I got town buildings and CIP.
Okay, cool. Just know that you guys start early, so.
Well,
Just
we're
like
on,
we do too, but I'm just saying.
we're on town buildings right now, aren't we?
Yep.
Yep. And then Public Works, so I didn't say anything, sir. Go ahead.
Bye.
Provider agency firms.
By provider agency.
Yeah.
That's coming up.
No, that was, oh, sorry, that was.
Going by my
regular
book.
agency.
You're going by,
Yeah, by the agenda,
okay.
Oh.
outside agency.
Advisor
Okay.
agencies isn't
All right.
on that, is it?
No.
I don't have the agenda. I
Revised.
was out today.
What?
Not on the revised. Nothing was changed yet from last month.
Yeah, but I want to add that in there, bus in there. Do I do it now or not?
What are we doing now?
Town buildings.
You don't have
Okay.
provider agency on your list, do you?
Do I have what?
Do you have provider agencies on your list, though? I didn't see it on his.
I
think it's
don't have it on the agenda.
It's listed at outside services, I think, on the agenda.
Outside agencies?
Yes,
Okay.
that's provider agencies.
So the only increase in town buildings is electric?
We're not on that yet. Go back to outside agencies. I want to add the $1,000 back in for the bus. That's why I'm going back to it. And it's M for outside agencies.
Outside.
It's not in the.
Why did we take that
Not in that
$1,000
sheet.
out?
No, it's
We
not.
really didn't, because I combined the two. I combined the provider agencies and RTP Lake Region Explorer, so instead of funding the town manager's discretionary, we left it at 2. I added the 1,000 for the Lake Region, Lakes Explorer bus, so for a total of 3. So no, the 1,000 is in there.
I tell you, the 2,000, I'm not, I mean, we'll make it work, but back to that piece of it, you know, the agency that I think does the most, social service agency, is the Southern Maine Area Agency on Aging. So I try to give them some money. Last year, I was only able to give them $500. And so I think we have a lake association that is looking,
500.
the 500 there. And then we have the
Chamber is 1,000. Chamber is 1,000.
Chamber came at, and that comes out of that. The Chamber has come out of that. She's asked for more money. Normally, they were asking for far less. And then I don't know, but what do the veterans flags from Naples, that come out of that as well, or is that separate?
I think
Isn't that under TIF?
I think that comes out of the TIF.
TIF, out of the TIF, okay. But so you got three things coming out of it. You got $1,000 right off the top for the Chamber, and then you got, you know, the other 1,000 divided between Lake Association and the Southern Maine Area Agency on Aging. I'm just telling you, it's not a lot.
You gave 1,000 to the Chamber last year, right?
No, not last year. She's asking for that this year, right?
Well, I believe it was the same last.
I think
It was the same.
I
amount.
thought she said it was an increase.
No.
There was a time, I don't know which year.
No, I thought she said 1,000.
So 1,000 to them.
And then you have 1,000 left, and so you're dividing that between the lake.
Oh.
Go ahead.
1,000 to the Chamber,
500 to Crescent Lake Watershed,
right?
and then
500 to Southern Maine Area
Agency,
Agency on
yeah.
Aging,
And then the other 1,000 is for the RTP?
RTP,
Yes.
I guess this year.
So that's 3,000.
Right.
Which is
Right.
what's budgeted.
That's what you
Yeah.
have on here.
No, it wasn't. I like seeing the 2,000 to him and 1,000 to the bus. I just like it broke out.
Oh, what about the Hawthorne House?
They're separate, they're in the
They're in the
TIF.
TIF.
Yeah.
Okay.
My only point is that it's not a lot, that's all I'm saying. It's not a lot.
It used to be 0.
Can I, okay, since the Chamber promotes Raymond, you know, with all the stuff on Main Street and stuff like that, is there any way that we can put 1,000 in the TIF on that? Because it is promoting. Does that, is it, well, that book that they put out?
TIF?
It's got to be covered in the TIF district, and I don't believe the whole thing is.
Well, that's
The
what,
whole thing has
No,
to be,
it's if the TIF says the TIF district, which is the business district.
so that would kind of work, wouldn't it?
so if we put the $1,000 in there, that's covered under the TIF. It's another thing we found to put in there, and it does promotions, and it opens you up $1,000 to do something else with.
But it adds 1,000 to the budget,
It's in the TIF, so it
No.
doesn't.
yeah?
If it's
Yeah,
in the
room in
TIF,
the
it doesn't.
Okay.
Because that book that she gave us, that had a lot of the businesses and stuff like that in there, and it's
Or
supposed
maybe
to
I
be in
should
that
say it this way, it
main
adds
district.
$1,000 to the expenditures of the town.
Right. But it doesn't add to the budget
I
line.
got you, yeah, I know.
So can we do that? Can we
Sure.
move that,
right here.
I mean, you're gonna have to check to see if it's
okay,
legal.
all right, while we're here, and we're looking at this, the Lake Region bus goes up and down the street, right on the business district too. Can we do 1,000 for that?
No, because that doesn't fall under the promoting.
Promoting of Raymond?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you go down and you catch the bus and see sightsee and the beach,
Not
enjoy
on-
beach,
not on the-
and
not on the-
shop and
not
dine.
under the-
I
not
can
under-
sell it
not
really
under-
easy.
Not under
All
the
3 people that ride on the bus?
Not under the TIF regs.
Well, I got
Not
one
under
in,
the-
one out of
Not
two.
under the way the TIF was written.
Right, what's
The
the,
Chamber of Commerce does, because that's a business district thing,
okay,
but the other doesn't.
Well, I would check on that,
I'd take one of
see
them.
if it's
Yeah.
okay to do.
Yep,
I mean, it promotes.
It seems logical, though.
it does, it does.
So that's a good suggestion,
Yes, thank you.
Teresa.
Wow, that came from
Yay.
Teresa?
Yep. You're so lucky you're sitting
First
down
one
there.
in 15 years, baby.
But that said, I should also point out that just because the money's there, I mean, I have supported in the past the Southern Maine Area Agency on Aging, and the Lake Association's Crescent Lake's relatively new, but, you know, it's not that I'm spending it all the money. You know, there've been times there's been surplus money, too, because you don't know what's going to happen in the year and that sort of thing.
Are you saying you want more money?
No, I'm saying that I'm happy with this. This makes me a little happier because if you look at what Southern Maine Area Agency on Aging does for the town, it's really, really significant. And You know, and they count to some degree on local appropriations, match money, and how that all works to
Do
show.
you feel they get enough to do what they, if you feel it's that good of an organization?
I think
really good for our
they're
town.
very happy to get $1,000. I think when we gave them $500, that was
Don't
kind of
be
a little low, is all I'm saying.
They get a lot of federal and state money.
I understand
Don't forget that. Lots of federal and state money. They pay their executive director $200,000 a year.
I think we need to move to the
Let's
next
not
one,
forget
quick.
that.
So
Town buildings.
There you go.
All right,
Moving right along.
yes.
Right.
So the only increase is electricity.
Utilities.
Yeah.
And we're in a 3-year contract at a 0.15 per kilowatt hour.
That's not
When they
bad.
were, they were predicting that they could go up to 40 cents,
Yeah.
40 cents per kilowatt hour. So we thought,
Yeah, stay at 15.
yeah, but that's why the increase in town
Highest
buildings.
electric rates in New England.
Yep.
Proud of it.
Yay, CMP.
Is that what, town buildings?
Yes.
Public Works.
So Nathan, flesh out this new building on Plains Road for me.
Flush out the new building. As far as why, what, where, and how.
Yeah, I mean, what timeline, when are we gonna have there? Like, is it gonna be like a 5-bay garage and an office?
My
We're not
vision's
window.
3 bays, a wash bay, my office, break room for the crew. We've got plenty of storage right across the parking lot in the old sand salt building. It would help a lot. It would increase our productivity quite a bit.
It increase labor. So it would decrease labor and you'd increase
I think it's
efficiency.
more safety. We've run into some trouble with the trucks. I was saying the other night, they're getting bigger. It's hard to work on them inside. We don't have an overhead lift. All those little things add up to one big problem. We're not in a, I can't get up here and tell you the world's gonna stop if we don't do it.
Timeline?
I would say if they went with it at this town meeting, I would push to get it started in the fall. I don't think I can pull it off before fall.
I don't see it in fall.
Well, I think
You mean start the building in the fall?
correct,
It's gonna take a year to build it?
probably, yes.
And you have any estimates on cost?
Looking at the other buildings around, it's around $250 to $300 a square foot. I'm looking to be around about 3 million.
3 million.
If we bond, what's the spend out time? Because I know on the roads, we had to spend it out within X number of years, and I can't remember if that was 3 or 5 years.
I would assume it would be the 3. I don't know much about the bonding. I rely on these guys for that. I just ask for the money.
Does that matter if we go to a bond bank or we bond it ourselves? Does it differ as far as having a time limit on it?
If you bond it yourself, you do whatever you want.
Okay.
Still, I mean, I think a spring start is way more realistic. I mean, there's a lot to do to get the thing out to bid.
Well, you gotta get engineering done.
Well, what he's proposing, I think, is to utilize engineering from another town modified, but still, that takes
You still
time.
gotta go down and look at that land and see if it's.
Right.
We've actually, we stood there and marked it out on the ground, and we've got a spot. It's all cleared, it's all done. We're actually utilizing it right now. And I have looked at 3 other towns, 2 of which have offered up their plans. They'd have to go out and get modified to meet our property.
Has any engineer come down and looked at that site?
Yes.
And they said you could do
Yes.
this?
Yes, we have room and we can do it.
Okay.
Get it through the planning board?
Have not been through the planning board.
I'm just saying that's a very, very, very optimistic schedule to do that.
Rolf, to your question, are you talking about the post-issuance bond requirement in that you need to have spent a certain percentage within 6 months, an additional percentage within 12, and then all of it within 18 for it to maintain its tax exemption?
Yeah.
status.
And
Because I know when I mean, there was certain limitation. You had to spend it all out, but, you know.
Yeah.
And
I
it
think
seemed to
it's
me
18
on the
months.
road bond, we had 3 years.
that will not be a problem. That's not a problem at all.
Okay.
That's not a problem. It may be possible to do it in the fall, but I would be a little more conservative myself. But expending it in the timeline that would keep you compliant with the law with respect to bonds is not a problem.
Okay.
So you would I agree with Don. I think that the spring, a year from now, is probably more realistic. You're gonna be done with one bond?
In FY '25.
I thought you said FY '24.
24 on one,
And
25 on the other.
No, they're both in '25.
Well, the one you get such a minimal payment, 25,
Yeah.
it is.
Like 88,000 or whatever.
Because one was taken out the year after.
Well, it says in the write-up there that it was a 2013, and the other one says it's a 2015. It all depended when it was actually signed.
When we finally got it issued, and this, typically the first year is just an interest payment. It takes a while for them to come online.
And for the
Usually it's
first-
just interest the first year, and sometimes we didn't, there's a time lapse sometimes between approval and issuance.
Yeah,
I mean, we've always done 10-year bonds.
Yep.
yeah.
$3 million, you're starting to think about 15 years.
But it's a big ticket item. It is a big item, so it's not small. So, but also if we tie it in with something else.
Okay, so what's the breakover point between self-bonding and the bond bank, dollar-wise?
There's,
At what point, and I don't mean what's the cost, I mean, at some point, at $3 million, it makes sense in the bond bank. At $10 million, it makes sense to self-bond. Where's that breakover point?
you have to decide on a number first, and then do an analysis of the costs, and that's factoring the interest rates. You're going to get a worse rate from the bond bank.
Right.
We're going to get a better rate with our AAA rating. Rates have come up. From our prior analysis with, that I did with Kathy Ricker, the cost of, the issuance with a, private, entity, a private firm or a bank that's doing that with our rating, is that part of the administrative part of it's going to be higher than the bond bank. But the interest rate, last time around, it was way, way lower. I don't know what it would be today, but you'd have to figure the amount of money and then do all of that calculation to determine it, I guess.
Yeah, but I mean, there's a back of the envelope someplace that says, at $3 million, it doesn't make sense. At $5 million, it makes sense. Where's
that line?
And I'm saying, I don't think
envelope.
anybody's calculated the back of the envelope, but Therese and I have talked about doing that.
The bond bank must get 25 basis points. or
They get
50
something,
basis
yeah.
points.
Yeah, I think so.
Because where I'm thinking there is, there's three things we have. We got that building, we've got the tennis court, and at some point, and that's where the timing issue of spending it out comes in. At some point, you got about probably $1 million to renovate the school.
Oh,
But,
I don't think that's
that's a different one.
close.
Because they're talking 2027,
Yeah, I'm saying,
right?
And that's why I was, that.
I don't think $1 million is even in the,
Well,
close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is, that's why I was concerned with the spend out time, because if you're not gonna, you're outside the spend out time at that level, at that point, because that's not gonna be till 27 that they're
Right.
moving in there, so that's a 28 expenditure.
yeah.
Right, but when you're talking about listing them out, we have the public garage, we have the pickleball tennis ball courts, we have the snack shack, and we have the cabins down at Tassel
Well,
Top.
he was talking about the cabins are a separate item, so you've really got the snack shack,
Septic system?
snack shack,
Septic system
the
is,
garage, the maintenance
part of
garage that he wants for Tassel Top,
We get some from the land
and
trust.
the tennis courts.
That's
well, I
the
mean, I
one
guess
making all
what
the
we
noise
need
in the corner.
to, we need to total up what we have for those upcoming projects and see where that is, and then look at, have we, where are we on that? Because it makes sense if you're going to bond to just do one bond.
Right.
I certainly would.
Can you do that, though, with totally different projects?
I had asked Richard today about that, just giving him some ideas of the projects.
The answer is
and
yes.
Who's
the-
Richard?
Richard
Brannigan.
Brannigan.
But the answer is yes.
Tassel Top,
May
sleeping,
not be because of the enterprise fund, right?
the lodging quarters may not be considered tax exempt.
Right.
So that may have to be built out separately.
So what about Snack Shack and the Public Works and the tennis courts?
I don't have Snack Shack built into that, because I thought that was part of the ARPA
Yeah,
renovation.
That's
but
what I thought.
Is it, Joe?
Well, we have 190,000, give or take, left in opera. So
Yeah.
we don't have a final guesstimate. I mean, we have a guesstimate
on square footage, we're about 300,000 for the snack shack. And I would say that your septic system, because that's a pump up system.
300,000?
Yeah, that's based on $250 a square foot.
Okay.
I just got
And they said the number could be a little less, could be a little bit more, talking to the town engineer. I figure that's a good spot to start.
I just got a text from Kevin, which is a good point, too, and his question is, what about the fiber bond? There is going to be, if the town wants to move forward. So I'm kind of, I talked to Teresa a little bit about this. You know, I think if you were to put all three together, you know, you might be able to do that, but I think the idea was to get this going now and have a couple of years debt retirement down on a, you were talking about a 10-year, but I'm kind of thinking Joe's right on 15. The last garage I did was 15. But so, in the rec tennis courts, they're certainly going to last a whole lot longer than 15 years with good maintenance. So if you put those two together and did an analysis of the bond bank versus, you know, private issuance and see what that looks like, then you'd have that number. But Kevin is correct. If you want to do fiber, you're going to have something there, and then you're going to have the town office in the school, which is now 27. So that's kind of pretty far out. In an ideal world, maybe you'd put them all together and have one bond, but I don't see any way timing-wise that can happen.
All right.
If you wanted to move forward in the meantime on anything.
So how much do you think this Snack Shack's going to be? 300,000. All right. And then you turn around and you've got 440 for a complete package of the
Courts with lights. You've got an ad on that snack shack, because we got to still put the septic system in for the snack shack.
Then why'd you tell me 300?
Because you asked how much for the snack shack. And then you just.
But what are we using the ARPA funds for?
ARPA funds will be pulled in for the septic system.
Right?
Give me numbers that I can add to your public works building. That's what I'm looking for. Sorry, huh?
$1 million.
$1 million for, $1 million would be
If
for
you had to pay for-
Joe's stuff.
Joe's stuff is 300 for the snack shack. I put 50 on the garage based on the 250 a square foot.
Okay. And
250
440 for the
septic system,
tennis.
And 400 for the
And
tennis.
250 for what?
250 for the septic system, because I put it in there because I'm not 100% sure where that's coming from, if ARPA could pay for all that. For the sake of adding.
Nope, that's kind of what I was, when I was trying to
Yeah,
do
but
some numbers.
550.
That's
Yeah, but that.
4 million.
The septic and the snack shack are at Tassel Top,
Correct.
which means we probably can't wrap that into the bond.
That could be an issue.
Wait,
We don't own the property.
didn't
It's
you
a
mention
100-year lease.
the buildings, or is it all of Tassel Top?
I had, my proposal to Richard was sleeping quarters. And that's what he questioned would
Oh, so-
qualify as.
Because that's
being
rental,
taxed.
that's considered rental, so the
Yes.
other.
Right,
the
but
others-
it's for a
the other-
nonprofit entity. I mean, it's an enterprise fund of the
I'm
town.
just telling you what he told me.
No. All right, well,
Originally,
you got more-
when I originally talked to her, he was out of town. I was thinking the sleeping quarters.
Okay, so we can get more direction on that. So, but right now, if we do the 3 million, the 440, the 300, the 50, the 250, which comes up to 4 million, if we could do the bond on the 4 million.
If you could separate them out, or bundle them together, rather.
Well, yeah, if you self-fund it,
And you can do it.
you can do it. You can throw whatever you want in there.
Well, apparently you can't put the tassel top in there, right?
No, as long as.
Not the sleeping
You
quarters.
can,
Cabinets.
whatever's
Cabinets.
legal to put in there, let me
Right,
put it
right.
that way.
That master plan is pre-approved right now. I'm waiting on one more of the grant committee's approval, and then we are all set with everything that was proposed.
How long do you have to spend the USTA grant?
I believe it's just contingent on an RFP.
Just doing it?
Yeah.
And we have the ARPA money goes to December 2024 to spend.
To get another year for that.
And that's about 190,000 left in that account.
No, it's not.
We're just talking digging in the ground.
Yeah, no joke.
So,
So What do you guys think of that?
If you put the bond, you gotta get approval from the town.
Yeah.
Then you gotta go talk to Dick Ranigan. I assume you're gonna use Dick, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And then
Dick Ranigan is our bond, I guess, representative. Just show him.
that takes 6
I've been on this
months.
board for how long?
But, I mean, you're not even talking about bonding money until the end of the year.
Right.
So you're not gonna get your pickleball courts this year.
Throw a fit. Throw a fit.
That's why I'm saying best case is spring.
For me for a few minutes.
You could never do this by the fall. Best case is spring.
Right.
But that's okay. Then they'll see it in its worst and know how to fix it in its worst. You know what I mean?
And it's not like the town is flush with cash, or you could start the process and repay yourself.
That would be my question, is to be ready to go in the spring, you're gonna spend some money this summer on engineering
Yeah, right.
and stuff like that. And I would guess that's gonna be somewhere in the 20 grand, 25 grand,
Yeah,
maybe even a little bit more than that.
I would go more like 75,000 to start building prep and design.
Paperwork,
Yeah. No.
We're giving you $4 million and you still want more?
right?
I know, jeez.
I mean,
Scribble it out, never mind.
I think I'm okay with a $4 million bond for 15 years, which would make the most sense.
Yeah.
I mean, but your interest rates are probably gonna be 4.5 to 5.
Well, he did provide a quote for 4 million. That's comprehensive for 20 years. And it's, the coupon rate starts out at 3 and jumps up to 3.5
Wow,
Oh, wow.
for 20 years?
for 20 years.
Not bad.
And the payment's 200,000
A year.
plus interest.
The
That's
other
the
thing-
principal payment.
Back to a question earlier, we haven't had, the formal discussions, but Nathan is setting up some discussions with our neighboring towns who are both trying to roll off public works departments. So if we had this resource, available, particularly with Casco, it's close enough so it could be utilized by them. And we don't know yet whether they have that interest, but it certainly would be a way for them to baby step into public works, which it appears to be what they're doing. Naples is doing the same thing. We're already doing some, leasing, I guess, of equipment and so forth. But to have a base of operations that would have all the kinds of things that the neighbors would need, is a potential revenue. And having mechanic services, you can't just poof, you got a public works department. But they want to do that. Both towns are trying to do that.
Well, it took Raymond quite a while to get to where you're
Right.
now.
Years.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying that if we had this facility, that's an asset that we can offer up as a, hey, we've got this, we're willing to work with you. No telling what will happen, we're going to have that meeting. But that's an opportunity.
All right.
So Joe, how did you hit him at Hilton Head? That's an important question.
The greens are real fast down there.
Well, Nathan, you did a good job on your public works budget,
Thank you,
and maybe we'll give you a building.
thank you. Appreciate it.
Maybe.
And my retirement party will be in it.
Yeah.
brand new.
On the, don't run away.
Nope, I'm not. I'm standing by.
On, where are we on the contract with Casella?
Casella, we're on our second year of a 3-year contract with an extension on the end.
Okay. Have we started discussions on extension?
No, I hadn't really planned on it until next year,
Okay.
because of the way the contract's written.
Any last questions on Public Works? Solid Waste.
I think that's what we just did.
Yeah, we just did indirectly.
Cemeteries.
Jumped ahead, sorry.
That's Sue.
I should do that. You get the water from everybody. Cemeteries. All right.
Nothing on cemeteries? Technology.
He says it's a dead issue. So.
But
What was the technology?
Yes.
So the increase in technology salaries is for broadcast studio?
No, it's for the
Library.
contract.
The videographers.
Well, there's that too,
Right.
but,
Yeah.
but I thought the contract is also,
No, he has a separate line.
Oh, separate line, okay.
Salaries.
Listed
Sorry.
as IT management.
Yeah.
But the salaries, he wanted to point out that they added the library as a department, which
Yeah.
now he oversees.
right, which is a significant ad that he's been doing for years for, for nothing.
Nothing.
But
Yeah.
yeah, so that would be on the contract. But we have, the good news is we have actual videographers.
Do we have the 5:30 people yet?
We just hired 2 young ladies,
Good,
Oh,
so they're in training at this point.
that's cool.
good.
And both of them did say, excuse me, please, both of them did say they could do 5:30. So once
That's
they're fully
wonderful.
trained, we can do that.
Good.
Anything for technology? Right.
This budget is out of control. Just kidding. Did you get all your baskets? People donating?
Got some baskets, got a lot of gift card donations, which is great.
Do you still need more if you want to put a plug in?
Yeah, could always use more. We have 90 registered for right now. So
That the Easter egg? hunt?
Easter egg hunt, yep. So that's from age 6 months to 12 years. So
6 months crawling around the
Yeah.
mud.
They,
There you go, yeah.
yeah, not as many as older kids. But, yeah, but any donations, just please contact me. Email joseph.crocker, raymondmaine.org.
You guys looking for Easter baskets, gift
What day is
cards,
the Easter
anything?
egg hunt?
April 8th.
The
So
Saturday
opens-
before. Yeah.
Yep, for some thaw.
Yeah. So on those pickleball courts that we're thinking about bonding,
Yep.
are all your folks going to be okay if it's not for another year?
We're dealing with it right now, so I think it'll be. Teresa's shaking her head now. I think we can have a little bit of patience on that. Again, it's so fastly growing that
Right.
we are just finding kind of new ways and new partners to try and open up our time at the school, which is only 3 courts. So, I mean, as soon as we get 6 courts and can move outside, that takes a lot of the pressure off the school and our volunteers that help coordinate that. So we'll be happy if we just have those courts.
Does that have any effect on the 25K grant that you're trying to get?
No, I believe there's no, I think once we're pre-qualified, that's until we can start the project. The other thing with that grant is $25,000 compared to the whole total cost of the project. One of the issues with that is kind of some of the requirements they do put on that. Some of them are good, like the handicap accessibility, but they require paved walkways and some other features. So that's kind of the contingency of that grant, just so you guys are aware.
We'll just have Nathan pave it for you.
Isn't that 10,000 that you put back in there for baby?
It sounds like on those two, though, you'd have to do those anyway. I mean, obviously, handicapped accessibility you got to do, and you got to have walkways, right?
Correct, yep. Yeah.
Is that cost in with that,
Yes, I will, that, the cost of the project is the total scope of that project.
of the 440,000?
Yeah, according, I got the technical drawings from the USDA grant, and that's what that was based off of, the estimate.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Are you at capacity in any of your programs, or
All of them.
all of them?
We have wait lists,
Yeah.
and we're trying to manage that piece.
So how would we get rid of the wait list?
It's really right now is indoor infrastructure. We can only go as much as a school. Some of those rooms are tiny, and some of the gyms can only hold so much. So a lot of our clubs are held in the library, so we have to put kind of maxes on that. So some of the other ones are just because the bus transportation, like ski program, I can only put 40 or 45 kids and some equipment on there, so that's limits that because of the cost of a charter bus or anything like that.
It's picked back up, the ski program then, like
Yeah,
that?
we maxed out at 40 this year, and we had 5 on the wait list.
Wow, that's great.
On the pickleball, why couldn't we use the big high school?
That-
The middle school, or
No, our RSU high school.
You would probably not get any gym time.
Pardon me?
We probably wouldn't have any gym time available in Wyndham.
Yeah, Wyndham Rec couldn't even get time in there.
Yeah, it's usually just special occasions that we host a tournament at the end of the year for basketball, and
So
they let
let me
us
get
use
this.
that.
So Wyndham Rec uses the high school?
Not for pickleball. They use town hall, which is one court.
Okay, but do they use it for anything else?
Probably some special programs, special events, stuff like that. So one-time
Well,
use.
the thought I had, if we don't have space here, I mean, Wyndham's close, and we're in the RSU.
I know a lot of people sign up to use the.
I mean, is that nonsensical?
I'm not arguing that one.
I don't think I'd be able to manage that.
What about down at the Boy Scouts, at that big place? Do they have space down there to be able to do something?
Oh, the dining hall.
Yeah.
Dining hall,
Except for all the glass windows, or?
Yeah, I probably wouldn't hold anything too athletic in there. I've asked a little bit, pushed that on them, and they try not to do anything too, I guess, extracurricular, like the movement, stuff like that. So mostly just meeting space or some light events.
Their dining hall, they're renting out for weddings, and just the kitchen's $1,000 a day. So.
Oh. What about down on on 302 in the shopping center? I know there's some still places that are vacant. Is there a way that maybe we can work out a deal?
Probably wouldn't get any more space than we do at
No?
RES.
Okay.
One of the options is Jordan Small. I've kind of hinted at that with some of the facilities maintenance people there. But again, you're getting pushed by our own programs when we use it for basketball.
Okay.
We also could get pushed for other events that the middle school holds. They hold a lot more than RES, which is why RES is a good spot for us.
Okay.
Less after school stuff.
We just built a new gym.
We did that.
You mean that?
I know we did that once.
Town gym at Jordan Small, that one?
Yeah,
The one that's constantly in debate.
So looking at the school, when we get the school and the gym, and there's some other surplus spaces there for sure. What are your thoughts on all that?
You would get 6 permanent pickleball lines right there, and that would take care of our issues. Yep.
Take care of it. Okay.
Yeah, we could go probably a couple days a week, and then host some weekend play as well. So. Yeah, right now I have 139 registered for pickleball. So I've two a week usually. Keep on getting more.
Joe, you were growing this thing crazy, all of it.
Yeah, you're doing a great job.
Especially the ski programs come back, and
We had some really good volunteers because I was not doing that by
great.
myself.
Which is huge, especially with the skiing program.
Yeah, never know. You want some ski chaperones out there.
You
with
need
them.
that big.
I agree with the
need it
notion
for-
that you're doing a great job. You are, but I just want to remind you again that the older population are still asking for, day trips and things along
Yep.
that line. And I know you're just one person, and the staffing's an issue, but there's also that demand. I get that a lot.
Yeah, I like to partner with. We set up a meeting, but I got canceled with the library and Raymond Age Friendly. So we're gonna have a roundtable discussion on how to kind of do that. I know libraries starting to creep into that, so if it's me assisting them and helping
Yeah,
out,
great.
facilitate that, or
You talk-
type of thing, we can work that out.
You talk with people at Casco on it, because I know they do have a lot of
Yeah,
senior.
I've talked to Beth.
Senior trips and things that they do.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
about possibly another bus? I know we did pretty good on the last one, so for Nathan's like back there going, yep, nope.
We're trying to find a smaller bus,
Okay,
something similar to what they use for the RIT
Yep.
bus there.
Yeah, I am licensed to drive 26 passenger bus as well.
Well, they're gonna, I don't know if they've done it yet, but you know, they trade that out pretty often, but I don't know what they do with the old one. It's not worn out, I guess.
It seemed about 3 years, they seem to show up with a new bus.
Yeah.
I think they're leased, I believe, is what they told. I heard the last time I inquired about it.
well, and the library charges for the different things too, like you do too, but in that way where it'd be something else that they'd be able to plan.
Yeah,
And Allison's good with that too.
Yeah, and I talked to Beth at Casco Parks and Rec, and she says she uses the general fund to kind of subsidize the bus fees, and that's how they get coach buses. So that's another possibility, and then they just pay for the expense out of the registration fee. So that's your, food, any type of event. I think they did the lights, Booth Bay lights.
Oh, yep. Yep.
They go to the casino?
Maybe, I don't know.
No, seriously.
That's a good one. Yeah.
My mother goes to Atlantic City. I mean, gets on the bus and off they go. Yeah. And they sell out the bus. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, they'll fill up fast for sure.
Cool.
I mean, the casino may even have a bus that they'll come pick you up.
They pick you up from your car, not that I know or anything like that. They pick you up from your car and take you to the building.
Really?
Yeah, no joke. That was years ago. I haven't gone since. My max spend is $20, and that's it. If I lose it, it's gone.
High roller, huh?
I put a limit on. I've watched people put $100 in these things and go, nope. Yeah, I'm
It's not
out.
even worth walking in.
No, it is, because then it's control.
Does the casino have children's hours? Then Joe could have a new program.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, really.
I've done penny carnivals before. Those are fun. For the
Yeah, you're
kids.
sleeping a few hours a day. You can work some more.
Any other questions for Rec?
No.
Let's move on to Tassel Top.
Is Tassel Top break even yet?
We usually make money off.
Make money.
Yeah, we definitely had some investment. It's tough to gauge that because of the fiscal year, how it falls, and then what we have. Usually I calculate our revenues and expenses on a calendar year just to see where we're at. So I know we do have a surplus in there.
The idea has always been, since its inception, as far as I know, that it's revenue neutral to the town. So it's an enterprise fund of the town, but it doesn't draw from the town
Even more so.
in a revenue way. I mean, there are contributions in kind that are made,
Yeah.
significant by Nathan particularly.
Yeah.
But it makes money, I suppose.
Makes money, yeah.
Yeah.
And we continue to increase
Which
our
we
revenue.
reinvest into the park.
Yes, it has to be reinvested into the park.
And is it repeat customers every year?
Yeah, our repeat customers are usually our memberships, and those have been increasing as well. We have a really good deal. The $70 Raymond rate has been extremely popular. We had 12 when I got here. As Raymond residents with season passes, I think we're at 60 or 70 now.
Oh my gosh.
You have repeat customers for the cabins.
Oh, cabins, yes, yeah. We once we opened it up, this year is all repeat. So everyone got grandfathered in. And we ask at the end of their stay if they're going to pick up that same week for next year. And if they don't, it goes onto our website for first come, first serve reservations.
And those are $1,500 a week?
It'll be $1,500 a week now, yes.
That's
still
cheap.
a bargain.
It's
Yeah.
still, the Airbnb rates, you're looking at $5,000 a week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's, ours is a little bit more rustic, but
Yeah.
people have a good time.
Yeah, but they're being upgraded, right? The cabins are being
Oh,
upgraded.
they're
Barry's
much,
done
much
great
nicer
work.
than
Yeah,
they were.
yeah.
If you haven't
Yeah.
seen them, they're really nice.
Yeah.
Yep, and we'll probably have to upgrade a couple of the sleeper cabins
Yeah.
that aren't attached to the main cabin. So I think we can get one more year out of them.
Great.
Good. Thanks, Joe.
Thank you, Joe. Library.
General comment, I'll tell you, it's been a real pleasure working with Allison. She's really great. And we've tried to, incorporate her into the town, and I think we've done that. She's been an active participant in our department head meetings, safety, public works, recreation, codes. A number of departments have been down there to talk with her about what we can do to help them meet their needs. Technology, I mean, he's always been there as a volunteer, and now, as a town contractor. So I feel like that's gone really, really smoothly. I suppose it helps that everybody always thought they were a department anyway. But it has, really gone well.
Karen, who works with her children's groups, is really reaching out to all the different businesses in town. She has like every Friday she goes somewhere different. She was just down at Sherry Gagnon. She's been to Balsam Ridge. Yeah, goes all over the place, which is pretty cool. And does a project and a book with them.
Where does the 60,000 that we took out of their transfer show up?
The 66,000.
66,000?
No.
It wasn't.
No, the 60,000. When we did the budget last year, we had the money that was transferred to us from the library. We used some of that to offset, to help fund the budget. So where does that show up in our spreadsheet,
I did not record that as an incoming revenue. Probably I should.
Yeah, because I mean, essentially you're off, you gotta, someplace you gotta show it. Because you took that money and you applied it against that, so you've got an income line, and you have an expense line.
Yeah. I think it was closer to 75,000 actually.
No, I thought
And we don't have it recorded
I
as revenue?
I thought it was 60,000 that we said on that.
No, I think eventually you said it got up to about 75,000. We're talking about the library
Correct.
fund.
Correct, not their,
Right.
not their,
Shoot, sorry.
Not friends of, but
No.
the money that was transferred to us.
Right.
Designated to be used for the library only.
Yeah.
right.
That we put that money into some of the, into those other, into the investment funds earlier this year.
Right.
So there should be an offset.
I didn't record it as a revenue, Ralph, and should.
Yeah, because at some place
Yeah,
it's
you
got to
need to
balance.
account for it.
Because effectively it lowered the budget, the overall budget anyways.
Any other questions about the library? All right, let's go to revenues.
Why do we think revenues are only going to increase 1%?
Say that again?
Conservative.
Why are we thinking that revenues are only going to increase 1%?
I think we're looking at, the trends of the past year and extrapolating, and that's what it looks like. But I guess if you were thinking that things were going to, be more robust, that's another way of looking at it, I suppose, but, yeah.
Conservative estimate on new valuation is one of them. There's a reduction in state revenue sharing by 40,000.
But the big one is the excise tax. You look at what you collected the previous year, cars are still coming in well, I think. Right.
And people are buying more expensive cars.
Well, because they are more expensive.
Yeah,
Right, because they are more expensive. So, so your excise tax, what is it, 2.3%?
Yeah, I guess Sharice probably would not be thrilled with this, but as she said, it's a conservative number. If you like a different number, then, that could happen, but.
Well, okay, for example, the homestead exemption reimbursements. There was the actual of 2022, 236. We're at 173 now, but the final budget in 2023 was 220, and we're only at 209. Are you guys comfortable raising that up 6,000?
I got that number from Kurt, and it has to do with valuation and our certified ratio.
Right.
As the certified ratio goes down, those reimbursements.
They
go
adjust
down.
it.
They adjust it. That and the Betty and Better get adjusted as such.
So, well, that was the other one I was looking at, possibly can we go up 2,000 on that one, but.
The way to fix that is post-reval, that'll fix itself, but right now, it's gonna be factored.
All right, what about the fire collections? Can we jump that up to 220 instead of 200?
Totally up to you folks.
Because we're at 222, and we're at 157 now. How do you guys feel about upping that another 20,000?
Well, I thought
You're good with that,
we
Kathy?
talked about that last time, and that's what I thought we were gonna go.
All right, so let's do the fire rescue up to 220.
And then I also had written down in pencil for the code enforcement officer planning.
Another
fees,
5,000.
Another 5,000.
Yep. And actually, she did that.
Yeah.
And, you guys didn't get the new sheets, sorry.
All right, thanks.
No, I put that down on mine too, but, so you're saying that we can't up the homestead or the business ones right now?
No,
That's not recommended.
Okay, no, all right with that.
Possibly a little bit on fire permits. He's brought in 3390 thus far this year. You know, I could probably go up 1,000 on that.
Where am I seeing, oh, at the bottom, okay.
It's at the bottom.
It's the bottom.
So that would be 3,000. What about miscellaneous income? What does that cover, actually?
If there's not a category that, you know, the money pertains to, the workers' comp dividend goes in there, and then other miscellaneous revenues that might come in.
Are you okay upping it another 1,000? I know you came up 3,500.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go to 7,000 on that one. Trying to bring some numbers up. This you really knocked up the public works revenue. 15, 16. I think the
I
other
think you're low on your auto excise tax too.
they came up 50 on that too. I mean,
Yeah, but when you,
that's not
you're at 787,000 right now through 8 months. You multiply that out to 12 months, you're at 1180.
so come up another 5,000.
I mean, you're 60,000 over what you have budgeted.
What do you think? Another 5, Joe?
I would go probably 10.
Okay, so 10. What about the boat ones too? The boat excise. You have 30, 32 before, 29. Some are still, well, no, because July 1st comes. So we're kind of at the,
Well, you're gonna register your boat usually in April and May when you put it in the water. That's when you're gonna see the spike on it.
do you want to leave that the same?
Did we get the numbers on state revenue sharing yet, or is that still up in the air?
No, we got them. And they're down, what, 40,000?
40,000.
One other note too is the school budget right now is at 5.37 as far as going up.
That's not bad. Better than what I thought.
It's only the first draft.
Well, hopefully they get it down to about 5.
So, Bob, can I jump while we're looking at because I'll forget to ask this. When we were talking about the public safety salaries, does that page also include the benefits for 2 full-time people coming on? Was that added into the budget?
It would have been, yeah.
That wouldn't be under public safety, that would be under ours.
employee benefits.
Under what?
Benefits are under employee benefits.
So we did account for 2 more full-time employees as far as benefits and stuff like that. I wrote that question down. I just want to make sure that we had it somewhere as far as covering that.
You based it on the salaries, correct?
Okay. All right. Thanks.
So if we got 2,500 in snowmobile taxes this year?
2569.
Yeah. But you only have what, is it 2,350?
Yes.
but you're taking 2,000 out of that anyway, which is good.
Right.
So,
10, 15. All right, I don't see any other changes I can make.
And the snowmobile is up this year, excuse me, because the state increased the fees significantly, almost doubled them.
Oh,
Oh,
why?
Because they can.
I think, excuse
Same
me,
reason you are
if you
increasing.
watch the news and see how many calls the wardens have gone to pull people out of trees, I think that
So
really
true.
is a
So
lot
true.
of the reason.
So true.
God, I had to ask that.
people
What
crashing
other
on
word?
these trees and houses and.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so if that's going up, are we going to up what we're giving to the Rattlers?
they only,
They asked for 2,000.
They asked for
we'll give
2,000.
Yeah, but do they know that it went up?
Well,
But the fees,
well, yeah,
Teresa,
but if you
we
look
have
at
to
what we
give to the
brought in
state of
against
Maine.
that, you know.
We give what?
We give part of those fees back to the state of Maine.
Okay.
Registration fees.
But I mean, when you look at, you know, where we, you know, it's always that gamble anyway.
Yeah, it is.
'Cause what it-
Interest on taxes, I don't know if that's an area that you could go up because the 2023 numbers is based on 4%. And the state is allowing us to go up to a maximum of 8. I don't know if that might be a place that, you know, could be a slight adjustment.
We have to, don't we
Yeah.
vote on that too? Whether
Well,
we
that's, yeah, because the issue you run into there is, you know, Sue's been doing a good job of minimizing what we have on lien charges there, so, you know, I'd much rather have it come in than have lien charges.
State revenue doesn't help.
Right.
I don't know, that's looking pretty,
very slim.
yeah, close now. So, I mean, just. Here's 40.
And the other problem, that, you know, that you have on lien charges is pegging it to what year you're gonna bring it in, because if you put a lien on someone, you may not get it for
You may never get.
3 or 4 years out, so.
That's almost 65,000 that we just did. From the original one, okay.
And then, you know, so, you know, at some point too, we've got to make the decision on how much we're gonna take out of the library reserve to bring in there to offset that budget. I certainly wouldn't say not as much as last year, but,
Right.
What did we take last year? The 6?
I mean, you know, I'm thinking in the 30 range.
Okay.
What did you come up with, Teresa, in the adjustments that you just?
Well, I did 10,000 and then I went from 125 to 130, but you already did that one.
Yeah.
So, and then 180 to 220.
Yeah,
7,000 in miscellaneous income.
yeah, so that's an increase of 1,000.
Yep, and then 3,000.
For fire permits,
Oh.
increase of
Sorry.
1,000.
No, so it
No,
should be 32,000.
I put 7 and 3, so that's how I added. I put 220 in there too.
Where did you coming up with that?
Should be 32,000.
I was hopeful in our numbers there. I mean, come on. No. Sorry.
And you got the 10,000 excise taxes?
I did, yep.
Yeah, so at least that's a help. All right. Good.
All set on revenue?
No, I have a question.
Go ahead, Dennis.
Animal control office, not to pick on them, but I don't know, one, where the money comes from, whether we find the citizens when she goes out or how it works, but I mean, in 2022, it was $1,300, now we're down to $400 or $500. And, you know, kind of goes along with that whole pay increase and everything else.
On what?
Where do we get the money from the revenue from the animal control officer, and why such a big decrease?
That is a big decrease.
It was 13, now it's 4.
So in the updated sheets, Dennis, that you don't have, year-to-date, the revenue is 1176 as of February 28th. I don't think, you know, there's been a lot of fines, depending on if it's the first, second, or third call. I think the rates have remained, the fines have remained the same, which is something that the Board of Selectmen can decide to increase.
The other thing to keep in mind too is that you have the same base of animal owners who are, you know, some people are very responsible with their pets and probably don't have that issue. Other people are not and have that issue. And is it possible that people are learning? I don't know.
Well, I also know, personal experience, that if you call after dark, late with a dog that's out when it's very cold, they'll check on it in the morning, or if it happens again, to call. So, you know, again, this is from neighbors talking to me, but it just seems to me that we have $500, that's what you're predicted for the next year, right? Is that
Yeah,
my
yeah,
wrong?
I'm a
So-
conservative, Dennis, on the revenues.
Well, and right now, she already has, 1176 in there. That was the updated number.
Okay, so.
Right, so,
Up it.
and I'm saying if it's 11, I mean, it's only $600-700, but it seems to me that we're kind of downplaying what we expect from her.
Put another 500 in there then.
Okay. Do we bill them, or does that get billed, or does that get billed out by Casco and then it gets split 3 ways?
They get billed by the Animal Refuge League. There's a letter in your packet that says they collect and reimburse the town of Raymond. $50 impound fee for the first offense. Collects $75 for an impound fee for the second, and $100 for each repeat offense. So the Animal Refuge League collects that and reimburses the town.
Upon the owner, pet owner.
Paying it.
Yeah, if they
Picking up-
pay it or
yeah,
pick up the
and
dog,
their
yeah.
Right.
Animal, yeah.
If they pick
So
up the
that's
dog,
where
they
it
gotta
gets
pay the
billed
fee.
out.
Yeah.
So I guess you'd have to go out for the first complaint to start the process, right?
Right.
I mean, whether it's 9 o'clock at night or 11 o'clock at night, if it's, you know, seriously cold out, enough for one of my neighbors to call and complain and have an answer, you know, if they do it again, let me know. And again, I'm not trying to exaggerate, I'm just saying, if the process takes repetitive calls, I would think the first time you would be serious about going out and saying, you know, the dog is barking, it's midnight and it's 8 degrees out. So I'm just concerned that there's other issues here that we're not seeing with these numbers. But I guess if it's 1,100 right now, 200 calls, just seems to me very low. But all right, that's my feeling. It's the only one that really stuck out at me. But thank you.
So did you want to add 500 to that line? Animal control revenue?
I would. We're already up to 1,000.
Well, if his theory's correct, she has an assistant now, so, you know, she has more staffing, so let's see what happens. Add the 500.
Okay.
I mean, it's not really a big risk.
Right, yeah.
Not a big risk, no. But I mean,
But it's something to look at.
that is a complaint I've heard. I mean, it's not an illegitimate complaint. So they decide whether something's an emergency, and I'm not going to get into debating whether, you know, a dog at 8 degrees, but that's just, you know, they make judgments, and maybe there's some wrong judgments, but a part of it is also staffing. You know, that's a lot of job if you're doing, you know, a 24-hour, 365 job. That's a lot of job. So now she has someone to help with that.
This is only revenue if they bring it to the animal control, like to the refuge
shelter.
leave, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, the shelter, or anything else, they don't get any revenue from it, okay.
Yeah. But let's see what happens, yeah. Maybe he's right about that.
The animal control officer can issue tickets. I don't know how much money comes in from those. I don't see them any longer, but she does have tickets to issue.
That's from failure to license your dog, Sue? Is that what you mean?
Well, there's a barking dog violation, there's off-the-leash violation, and I remember seeing those on our fines things. Yes, there's
It's on the
several.
fee schedule, the
Yeah.
whole list of things that are on her tickets.
Where does that revenue show then, when they find people?
Does that come into us then?
No idea.
So why have the fines if we're not enforcing them? Okay. That's something that probably should be checked on. All right.
Capital improvements?
What's the municipal facility increase to 85,000?
That was the one that, oh, sorry.
Oh, that's the one to do
That's the one.
Main Street?
Yeah, last year we bumped it up to 50. It was supposed to be 30 plus 50, and it got misdone, so we're gonna try it again this year.
Okay.
I don't know if misdone's the right word.
Misdone? Yeah.
Misdone's a new word from the
Yeah.
Public Works Department tonight. We'll go with that.
If you get it, do we still need it there?
Yes, I think that building needs to be rehabbed. It's gonna be, we're talking 2027 before the school even becomes a thing. Joe needs a better facility down there. That building needs some work done to
I can't
it.
believe you're not gonna give him an office down in your building.
You gonna put a pickleball court in there too?
You've got room for a pickleball court in there. Yes, you do.
You think he needs more than a corner of your office, really?
Well, I need more room. He's taking up all my office.
Yeah, I do fill up his office with all sports equipment and stuff, so.
He needs a storage too, yeah.
And this technology increased 125,000?
So that's basically transferring last year's 100,000 that was allocated to the TIF and bringing that over to CIP. So it's really just an increase of 25,000.
Why is it not in, I'm
The
sorry.
TIF.
Yeah,
I prorated the fiber optic project that he's, planning, a few years down the road, and took a percentage of that, thinking that would be, some of it would benefit the TIF district, and then the rest of it's gonna come out of CIP.
And he said 25,000 was for new equipment, like laptops and computers?
Yeah,
So-
basically
Surveys.
unanticipated emergency purchases, basically.
How often does that
Well, he
happen?
labeled a couple when someone said that the other day, right?
Yeah, it was
Kevin
like
said, oh,
45,
well, I already
48.
have
Joe's, I think it
thousands of
was.
dollars already.
Oh, you
that
talked
I
about
didn't-
Joe adding a desktop.
3,500, it was a laptop and a printer.
Yeah.
But, I mean, does it happen often? Is there, do you have a purchasing cycle where you go, okay, every 4 years I'm gonna replace a computer?
He does have a cycle, but I don't know if it's 4 years, and I think it also depends on, application and use. I mean, I think you'd have to ask him that question, but do either you know? I know he does have
The replacement-
he does have a cycle for replacement,
The
though.
replacement cycle is different on laptops than it is on.
It is, and it's different on public
Desktop,
safety tough
usually
books than it
5
is
and
on.
3.
Yeah.
Usually 5 on a desktop, 3 on a laptop.
Yeah, but my point is that you have a laptop here, it's different than a laptop in a fire truck.
Yeah.
And I do know the price of the electronic equipment has certainly gone up as well, just like everything else.
I mean, how many surprises do you have during the year?
Off the top of my head, I could not tell you.
Look, you could have 15 in
I
one
could
year,
ask
and
him
then you
now.
could have 2 in 1 year. You know? You never know. Can you actually be in the minus for 2022 for fire CIP?
Yeah, they bought that new fire engine.
So if we're in minus here, where'd that money come from? How'd we fix that?
Designated surplus.
Oh,
Playground only spent $1,700 last year.
Thus far.
That's right, yes. We bought the swing set last year.
Yes.
And then the year before, only 68.
Yeah,
So
we-
why do we need 35,000?
Because we had 25,000 in the TIF before.
Around.
And we had to move it from there to
Okay.
CIP.
and literally, that's.
Well, we're using all 25,000 TIF?
Were we?
I think we were.
That's what we did. Yeah, that's when you replaced a lot of that stuff at Sherry
Correct, that's where
Gagnon.
that came from, was the playground equipment came from out of that account.
Okay.
And we've got one more unit we gotta put together that hopefully we're gonna do this spring. I got 2 people coming to look at it and
Big
put
one.
it up.
The answer on surprises, he says, is about 10.
A year.
Yeah.
Thanks, Kevin, for watching.
Oh, he's typing. There may be more.
That seems like a lot.
I don't know, we have a lot of technology equipment.
When you only have 30 employees.
Yeah, but I think,
Well, you
I
figure
think a
a
lot
third
of
of
them,
them are gonna turn over
Well,
their
you
laptop at that.
remember, he's
I mean,
also,
10%
got in there this year,
the
some
library.
UPSs and things like that.
Oh, in the library.
Yeah.
and he said, I thought he said too, that a
No,
lot
that
of
was
them
a
are
separate
older
account
ones.
that the
The
UPS and then some servers, that was a separate account. That was in the technology account.
Okay.
You gonna need all 35,000?
I think so this year. We've
Yeah.
got some upgrades we want to do down at Mill Street.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's some future costs coming, servicing the basketball court,
Multiple.
stuff like that.
They have a dugout down there that's gotta be repaired.
We got insurance
Flipped
covered
over.
on that.
You have what?
Insurance covered that, actually.
Oh, that's great.
Back to technology, says multiple printers, PCs, network equipment. We have a lot of stuff.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thanks, Kevin.
Just curious, was that dugout vandalism or is that a bad
Wind.
windstorm?
That was wind.
We lost 2 of them down there. One 2 years ago flopped. The wind came in from a different direction. It flopped over, and that one didn't get stove up too bad. We were able to stand that back up and repair
one
it.
hit-
This one went into the telephone pole pretty hard. And
Yeah.
Now, you have a plan to anchor it, right?
These next
yeah,
ones will
yeah.
be.
Yeah, better anchoring.
These were anchored in.
Oh, I know.
That's what I thought they were, yeah.
Oh, I know they were.
That was that 80-mile-an-hour storm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that just,
And
you
went
got
to
a big
Pines
wind
down.
sail there.
It's like a wind cup.
Yep.
Instead of the house at Dorothy, it was the dugout.
Does anyone want to delve into county tax?
I don't wanna pay it.
But I do think that it may require a little bit of explanation somewhere, that part of that is because of the
5-year buyout.
5-year buyout, so that, I mean, increases are, there's still an increase there, but the increase is not, what's being asked for is not as much as really what the increase is, but part of that is that buy-in, so.
Yeah, and a lot of towns, you're not gonna, well, probably you will believe this. You know what a lot of the towns, or many of the towns in the suburban, urban area are doing? Just paying it right up.
That's,
We took
Worry about their taxpayers.
yeah, we took the.
not that I
no
want to
interest.
defend the county tax, but, that probably does need a little explanation to people, because.
Yeah, you don't know it well, but
Kevin's texting.
you should know
Until
how I hate
next
to
week.
defend the county tax.
oh, Kevin says if you want to see what we have, look at the numbers on the diagram that he sent you. You can see the numbers there.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, okay. There's a lot.
One other thing with the technology is that we are on a schedule to replace our PCs, but we tend to use printers, UPS, things like that until they die. So we never know when those are going to come up, so I think that's part of Kevin's reasoning.
Have you looked into leasing your printers?
Oh, there is leasing on there, and I think that even went up.
We leased
We
the
used to.
copier.
We used
We
to,
leased
then we
the
bought out the
copiers.
lease a couple of years
Like
ago.
big one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but you can lease your printers, and your copiers all in one.
We did have it priced out, this was probably 3 or 4 years ago now. I worked with a company to come in and do that. It ended up being a lot more expensive than Kevin can do for printers for us, so that's why we didn't go that way. We can look
must
at it
print a lot.
again, though.
Because
We
when you
do.
print a lot,
We do.
it's expensive. I know it's kind of stupid expensive.
And we are moving to the printers that don't require the toner cartridges and things like that. It's more of a refill kind of situation, so we're moving toward those as we go.
Someone listened to Shaq.
But generally speaking, the equipment that we can run in the ground, we do. Some of it, you can't do that.
Raymond Way. Good job, Don.
Well, yeah, this is, give Kevin the credit on, I mean, he buys these servers. Well, originally, we had donated servers. I'll probably get the history wrong, but I think this is right. Donated servers from the private sector, which he acquired, and then, supported them as a volunteer for a number of years, then donated them to town. And then we ended up getting servers from outside sources like State Surplus, refurbing them, using them, souping them up for better, or updating them, using them and buying them for like $200 or some crazy number like that when they're thousands and thousands. And then most recently, he's been buying them, off of places, I think, like eBay or, places where you can buy used equipment. And then he, renovates them, and we get, many good years of serviceable life out of them. So that this is not what happens in other towns or schools, I can assure you.
Have we looked at undesignated fund balance and how much money we can apply to reducing this budget?
I do not have an affirmative answer for you, Joe.
Less than you think because of the.
Yeah, because of the lawyer's fees, yeah.
I may, by the time the warrant is finalized. He was initially going to present the audit on the 28th, that you're meeting on the 28th, or a meeting on the 28th. But he's not going to be ready. He's really cutting it close on issuing a single audit, so he's not able to do the March 28th, but the April 11th meeting, if that's okay with the agenda setting.
We're talking the auditor?
Yes.
Yeah.
We have a meeting next Tuesday
Yep. To do the warrant
to
article.
do the warrant articles.
I don't expect it's going to look very good considering what we've expended in legal
Right.
fees.
Right.
I wouldn't rely too much on that being a healthy balance.
Budget Finance Committee comment? Select Board comment?
From my perspective, the budget's too high at 8.77%. I like to see it more down. And it's higher than I would even wish for, but I think you can get to 6% and still have, I mean, the taxpayers took a 6.8% hit last year, and hitting them with another 8% on top of this, I think is way too much money for my liking. So that's why I'm asking about the fund balance and how much can be applied to lowering that rate down to, at a max 6% for me. Now, if the school's coming in at 5 and 5.5 or 5.7, it's gonna be pretty bad for the town to be higher than the school as far as an
That
increase.
usually don't happen.
That's right. So, I just think when you look at the increases we've had over the last few years, this seems pretty steep.
I would also, what I would say about that is, I hear what you're saying, but the school budget, as far as I know, they're not adding any significant new programs. We've added significant new programs and initiatives. That'd be what I'd say in defense of that. We've expanded services. They've already have established services. We ran for more than a decade at near flat funding. So, I mean, I hear what you're saying.
Well, you didn't flat fund.
Well, flat.
You've always had an increase.
Yeah, but
Flat tax rate.
I think flat funding it and 0%, I just think that's just undoable, to be honest.
Well, I'm not saying that. I said
Right.
6%.
Yeah, but I'm just saying there's more to the story, and that there are new things in there too.
Yep.
So this is me asking, because I'm really bad with this. What are you talking, Joe, as far as getting it down to 6%? How much out?
I haven't done the math.
Usually you can whip it right off your head.
I know. But what's the size of the budget? 6.2 million? 6.7 million?
6,786.
Yep.
6,786.
Is the current budget.
Okay.
So last year was 6.239, so just multiply that by 1.06.
I just wait for the number.
6.6 million. So you need to cut about 170,000.
Even with us upping the numbers for the revenue?
Not, well, you haven't done that, so you have to add in whatever
Well,
those
right, but I
revenue
think
numbers
Kathy
are.
did about 32,000.
32.5. when we add
Okay.
that up.
And then are you going to assume that there's no growth in the valuation or growth?
And we were conservative, Kurt was conservative in that.
Because you have that too,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Well, your valuation went up to 1.565 billion.
Oh, no, the new taxable revenue, I should say, I'm sorry.
137.5.
So we're going to have an increase in revenue on account of new construction, new valuation.
Yeah,
That's what I meant.
right. And how much is it? We don't know.
Well, he's given us an estimate,
8
which is
million.
always very
Right,
conservative.
they said 8 million.
Right. Very conservative. But that's what he's comfortable saying, and so it'll be more, but
All right.
in case it isn't, he doesn't want to be the guy who says,
Right.
kind of like,
Worried about that.
you know, we try to come up with something realistic, but something that is not overly optimistic and we don't reach. So,
So right off the top of your head, we're looking at 130K. Do you feel there's any place that you could even come close to?
you can always cut it. You just decide on what you don't want to do.
And then if you're looking to bond, you're actually adding to the budget,
Adding to it.
if you're gonna do that this year.
Yeah, but you're not
It would
going
be-
to have those bond payments until.
It would be a small number because you'd have just the interest in the first year, though, yeah.
So if we're going to bond, is that, Sharice, is that 410,000 for the tennis courts in the 6.786?
No.
No.
I would be surprised too, by the way, that if you got this all together and, you know, I don't think your first payment would even be in this fiscal year.
That's right.
It'd be next year.
Right.
I think I'm having a little rough time with that pickleball court, looking at those numbers. I don't know if it was a skate park, which I would be all for, I would still be like, I'm a little,
That's down our road one time.
We've kind of done that, tried to do that.
but even using
have
that
one
for an
back here.
example, you know, I'd still be a little concerned about adding that in. I just kind of feel like with the inflation numbers and stuff, I don't really see that going down. Like we're hoping it will, but I just don't see things getting better over the next couple of years, as far as price-wise goes.
Yeah. Which is why I think you need to be a little more conservative, as people are going to get hit more and more over the next year. I just think increasing taxes by over 12-13% over the next year doesn't make sense to me. That's just me.
I mean, I'm agreeing with you. You know, I want to agree. I want to think that there's something that can happen in order to, because 6%'s enough.
Yeah.
But you know, on outside looking in, 6%'s enough.
Yeah.
But looking at the figures, is you know, where could we get 130? I think that would be scarcing out something.
But if we've already, we are down to, hold on a second, so sorry.
Remember, you needed 180,
I know.
so you added 50 in revenue in.
Wait a minute. We were at, what did you say? 170 is what we need to cut, right?
Yeah.
And we took off the 32.5 in increases that we did, that brings
Yep.
us down to 137.
Take that off
And you got another 30,000.
from the library.
Take out from the library, so that's
Hold on, so that's down to 107.5. Okay, so that's about where we're at right now. So if we, do I throw some ideas out there now, or do we do it?
I think you go back to the department heads and say, cut 2.5% out of your budget. and see where that takes you. But I mean, there are some budgets that, like Nathan's, went up 4%. So would you look at that one? Probably not. But the ones that have gone up double digits, I think you need to look at. Makes sense.
So I can, I hate to, but I can throw some in there. I mean, we got 11,200 for contingency and winter sand. There's 11,200. And I could take 10 this year out of my equipment line and still be okay. It doesn't give me any money to carry forward into the following year, but there's
Oh, I
20.
appreciate it, Nathan, but your budget's one of the ones that's in line. You know? Now, I'm glad you're willing to step up and offer that money, and so we know it's out there, but every department should look at it. So, that's just me. I don't need to vote for this budget at 8%.
I'm not saying that. We're just trying to. No, I'm all for balancing some things here. We've got. I mean, I didn't even put Nathan's in there. We still have 107.5 to do it, but I think that there is way that, yeah, it can be.
Yeah, I think you need to look at public safety. I mean, that's your biggest budget item, right? Like, you need to look at it.
Yeah, we'll go back and look at it.
I think you're, what, at 1.3 million public safety? I don't remember. Yeah. So,
All right. See what you can do,
Absolutely.
and we meet next week.
I need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. We have a motion. I need a second.
Second. Anybody? Just say second, anybody.
somebody on the
Second.
TV. There you go.
Meeting's adjourned.
Okay.